SacramentoKings.com. Don't miss the sensational Khalid for one night only at the venue at Thunder Valley, Saturday, October 5th. For more, visit KhalidOfficial.com.
From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios.
Your home for Kings basketball for over 25 seasons.
No look, Bibby to Weber, down the lane, flying jam. There's your play of the night right there. It's inside is Sabonis, a two-hand rip, a brilliant pass from De'Aaron Fox.
KHTKAM Sacramento, KYMX HD2 Sacramento.
Sacktown Sports.
It's time. It is that time. Time for Stiles and Watkins.
You can join the show by texting 916-339-1140. Find us on YouTube at Sacktown Sports 1140.
It's time for Alan Stiles and Chris Watkins.
Yes. The sun is shining on a Taco Tuesday. LeBron, please don't sue me. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports, taking up to 2 p.m. We got football. We got Kings. We got around the NBA, and we go over our picks. I'll tell you this much. I don't know what the high score is for our picks this week, guys. Might be 6. What a ridiculously wacky week of football. And it continued last night with Chris's old flame, Kirk Cousins. In hot Atlanta, getting their first W. Didn't look good for majority of the game, Chris. But if you hang around with the Eagles long enough, they'll make a mistake, and that's exactly what they did. Got Nate Littlefield behind the glass for us today as we are rocking it out with Nate moving forward as the producer extraordinaire. Chris Watkins, how you doing?
Good. Yeah, it was interesting to watch Kirk from the other side of things yesterday, and I was telling Frankie earlier, it was just an interesting watching experience. I found myself, rooting for him a little bit, and more so when he was playing bad. When he started playing well, I was like, okay, cool, whatever. Good last drive he put together. But yeah, it's a really weird relationship, feeling like I still am rooting for him to do well, but I honestly don't care. But it's more so just, I said for so long, Kirk Cousins, he's a passable quarterback. He's not as bad as people think. And for about the first 7 quarters of football, it felt like this year, he looked about as bad as everybody thought he was. But he turned it around and looked great, really, in the second half. I guess I should give him credit for that entire second half. But good game, and I think the week of surprises just continues. And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about all these upsets. It's making me really confused heading into week 3, trying to figure out exactly the how to feel about all these teams. Really,
is football, I guess, the most romanticized sport that there is, specifically in the U.S., because football ends and people have countdowns. I can't wait for football. I can't wait for football. I need football. Football comes, okay? Everybody gets injured, all right? Everything you expect doesn't happen. We're only in week 2. Right. And you're sitting here thinking, this is not what I signed up for. But I feel like a version of this happens every season. Every season we say, oh, the injuries are really bad this year. It just depends on who it is. And here we are again. We'll get into all of the different injuries that are going on right now. But it's a mess right now. Yeah. And I guess the hope is that it corrects towards the end. Maybe it's good that the injuries are happening now. I don't want anybody injured, but everybody will be healthier moving towards the end of the season, because it's a mess right now. I mean, and because of that, you're seeing crazy scores, and not all of it is because of the injuries, but you're seeing crazy scores. Then they leave the week and you have more injuries moving into week 3. I mean, you got Rams-Niners coming up with no Debo. That got announced yesterday. As we sat here, I was sitting here, Chris, as the news broke, and I said, well, Chris, David Lombardi said, and I kind of agree with him, surprise, surprise, that at least the Niners came out with no injuries. What was it, an hour, 2 hours later, Debo Samuel out for at least, Debo weather is not coming. The only Debo weather we're going to see is his podcast on Bleacher Report later today with Brandon Ayuk. We'll have sound from that tomorrow, but you got Debo out. Cooper Kupp, the Rams cannot catch a break. Cooper Kupp and you have Puka out. So it's a mess right now, Chris. I want to get back to Kirk Cochains, your boy, because very similar to the Texans, it feels like he has too many options, right? And I'll tell you this much, as we're going to get into our prop talk later in the show, I am staying away from the Falcons. There's just way too many options. You got Kyle Pitts, who really didn't do much again. You got Drake London, who did a little bit of something. He had the big touchdown. But then you got Ray McLeod. You got Darnell Mooney, was just the guy that the Eagles decided not to guard. It's almost like there are two. And then obviously Bijan and what he does in the pass game. I feel like the Falcons and the Texans are going to take a couple weeks to figure out what the hierarchy is.
You're talking about from a fantasy perspective.
Well, I'm talking about, yes, me from a fantasy perspective, but I'm talking about even that team. They need to figure out what they want to do with the offense. We looked at these two offenses and we said, look at all the guys that they just added. They got so many weapons. This is ridiculous. And I will give a little bit of kudos to the Niners. They have weapons, but the Niners, they understand their hierarchy because it's been a couple years. And I think that the Falcons and the Texans are trying to figure that out because it felt like Kirk just didn't know what he wanted to do last night.
Yeah, I think a big part of that is their first-time play caller too. That made a really big impact in Week 1. A lot of people were talking about that more so leaving Week 1. That it doesn't help that Kirk Cousins is in a brand new system and is somebody who's a perfectionist and all things like that. And then you throw in a new coordinator who's also a first-time signal caller as well. The fact that you don't really understand how to properly manage a game, right? How to call the correct flow, and I think that's something that they're all working through. And I think yesterday was a big moment for them because they understood give the ball to Bijan, and Bijan is an absolute weapon. I was watching the Manning cast for a good portion of yesterday's game, and I thought they did a great job of just giving a lot of layers of insight. Peyton said he talked with Kirk Cousins about Bijan essentially being as good of a route runner as anybody else on the team, and so I do think yesterday was a big moment for the Falcons, just kind of understanding what you're laying out, like who exactly are the guys that we go to. And another thing on that Manning cast was they pointed out in that last 2-minute drill, they said that's really where Kirk should feel the most comfortable. The 2-minute drill is kind of the first thing implemented in training camp, and that's where, the first plays that you learn and everything, like that's what you've been working on for the longest time. So even if you are uncomfortable, the most comfortable you should be in a new system and a new offense is in that 2-minute. And you saw him go to Drake London 2 or 3 different times during that drive. And so I think kind of exactly what you're saying, they're still figuring out exactly where do we go when we really need, got to have it plays. And, they have so many playmakers. They should be able to compete with New Orleans in that NFC South, but we'll see. I mean, we'll see how Kirk's health holds up as well. And frankly, I mean, that Falcons team has just looked a little bit inconsistent through 2 weeks. And so it'll be interesting to see how they come together because I think they can be a really dangerous team if they can figure things out.
Yeah. And we'll get into the Eagles side of this. I don't know if Draper is going to come in today. Was he in yesterday? Is he going to come in with a bag on his head? I don't know what the deal is because they had no business winning that game as far as I'm concerned.
No.
You had Nick Foles in the building. You had Jason Kelce. You couldn't get away from, You can't get away from these guys. One channel has the Mannings, the other channel has on Kelce.
Yep.
It's just too much. And I got to rant. Okay, Sal Espresso might need to make a return with these guys. So that's a little bit later in the 10 o'clock hour. But everything was laid out for the Eagles to take care of business. Yeah. And, something is just missing, Chris.
Yep.
When you cook a meal, right, and you taste it and okay, it's almost time to eat, and you serve it anyway, but you just know that something, you don't know what it is. Maybe it's a little bit of salt. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's paprika, smoked paprika. Maybe it's something that you just can't put your finger on. And that's the Eagles to me. You had the report come out with Jalen Hurts and the coach, and I saw something.
Yeah, they hate each other.
There was a weird. Did you see that yesterday? There was definitely.
No, I've seen stuff in the past.
Nothing. It wasn't a blow up, but just the way they interact together.
They don't like each other at all.
Yes, it just is not the vibe is not vibing, and I think that's a problem. And to me,
the coach and quarterback not communicating, big problem.
This might be the end for. I mean, if this doesn't go well, Sirianni is cooked because
that kind of loss is the kind of thing that's a strike.
Because with all these other guys, it's this guy is our offensive guru if you're Kyle Shanahan, or this guy is our defensive guy if you're, even a Robert Saleh, somebody like that. Nick Sirianni is just, a manager. I come from the tech world. Yeah. Once you become a manager, you're not actually doing anything. You're making sure other stuff gets done. So honestly, Chris, not to go too dark here in the first segment, but when layoffs come, middle management, that's the scare. That is, I am the most scared, or middle management, you are the most scared when it's time for layoffs because you're not in the trenches, you're not doing the work, but you're getting paid a pretty penny. So when it's time for the layoffs, everybody says, okay, well, what can we do without, right? We need these guys to actually implement the work. And then we need the higher ups to continue to fundraise and things like that. But these guys in the middle, where it's, you're not doing the work, you're just making sure the work gets done. Do we need to pay you six figures? Do we need to have you around? And I think that's where it is with Nick Sirianni. They're going to say, okay, well, you're not calling the plays. That's Kellen Moore. You're not the DC either. You're just some type of motivational speaker. And honestly, you're turning into a bit of a meme. Everybody loves to see the Eagles lose, even more so because you can look at it on one side and say, well, he embodies the city, whatever it is. A lot of people just think he's annoying, Chris, and I think a lot of people think he's annoying because on top of everything I just said, he doesn't do anything. So he just walks around and he's all swagged up, and you just become a meme that way. I think this is not going to end well for Sirianni.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think the Eagles can still be one of the best teams in the NFL. They had a bit of a disappointing season last year. I think they're putting a lot of stock into this season, and we'll see. I mean, again, I think a loss like last night definitely does help the case of everything you just laid out, more so hurts the case for Sirianni. But, I think that they're very capable of being one of the best teams in the NFL. They had Saquon Barkley this offseason. He's done great so far through 2 games. We'll see. I'm not really. I think the relationship with Jalen Hurts is probably the most damning thing because I think the team is going to be close to a playoff team, if not win the division. So I don't think the success is going to be what ends up being the downfall for Sirianni. I think it's probably going to be more so the personal relationships. And if you don't have a good relationship with your franchise quarterback, more than likely the franchise quarterback is the one that's going to stick around, and they'll find a new coach. So. We'll see how that relationship continues to develop, but with Dallas taking a loss this week, and I still think Philly looks like the best team in that division.
Agreed.
We'll see. We'll see what the future holds for Sirianni, because you can't just let this guy go if he's going to continue to make deep playoff runs. But yeah, if they fall flat in the playoffs, I think that it'll probably be on the hot seat for Sirianni at the end of the year if things don't go well.
Coming up next, the 6 biggest underdogs this week, all covered, and we talk about what went wrong with the Eagles. Did Jalen Hurts convince you that he's back? Let's talk about it. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
Trying to find out where to catch your favorite team's games?
Are you a fan of the Kings, Niners, and the NFL? Well, Sacktown Sports has you covered.
Touchdown! San Francisco! It's all on his shoulders. Cox rocks. He fires for the win. He's got the triple.
Catch all your Kings, Niners, and NFL games all year long on Sacktown Sports and SacktownSports.com.
Hey! I can't wait for golf this weekend, huh, buddy? Time flies. Love you, man. Oh, don't forget your knee brace again. We aren't in college anymore.
Moments together matter, so help protect yourself from RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Ulta Beauty's 21 Days of Beauty event is back. From now until September 19th, score over 200 daily beauty steals at 50% off in every category. And check Ulta.com daily to get them all before they're gone. Take 50% off bestsellers from brands like Estee Lauder and Supergoop. Plus, say hello to new finds from brands like Dyson and Sol de Janeiro. And Ilia is now at Ulta Beauty in select stores and online. Shop in-store at Ulta.com or try pickup today. Ulta Beauty. The possibilities are beautiful. Conditions apply while supplies last.
Sacktown Sports. Call or text at 916-339-1140.
The 6 biggest underdogs, all covered. They're barking. Nate, give me that bark sound. They're all barking. The underdogs are barking. Oh, yeah. Vegas +9. They barked. Tampa Bay plus 7.5. Dang. They barked. Saints plus 6.5. Bark, bark, bark. The Bears plus 6.5. They barked. Not as that's the little dog bark. Yeah, that's that one. Cincinnati plus 6.5. That was ridiculous, by the way. They barked. And the Falcons plus 5.5. They barked as well. Hopefully somebody saw that coming and enjoyed themselves. Murph on the text line. Cashed my London touchdown. Yeah, it was late. Kirk Cousins got it done, though. Got it done. Murph also says, best show in the land. Let's go. Thank you, Murph. We're just trying to do our jobs. There you go. And, yeah, the underdogs, they did their jobs, and the favorites did not do their jobs. By the way, speaking of being an underdog, the Falcons had 0.7% of a chance to win that game with a minute and 56 seconds left. It was bad, Chris. Some people can say, I know they talked to a bunch of different former coaches and guys that just really know the game, and a lot of people didn't necessarily have an issue with that play call, but Saquon Barkley, he dropped it. And that's the problem when you drop, and nobody has a problem when you convert. Okay. But when you don't convert, now you look ridiculous. And I don't know if you saw this, Chris, I didn't bother pulling the audio because he really didn't say much, but Peyton Manning during the Manning cast, did you see on that play? He could not watch it.
Yeah,
he got up and he just thought it was ridiculous. So, some costly mistakes at the end. And I don't know what was worse, Chris, the play call from Kellen Moore and or the drop from Saquon Barkley, or the horrid defense from the Eagles. I mean, I know when it's 2-minute drill, the middle, it's easier to move the football, but that was absurd. Chris, what was that? Was it 12 seconds? Was it less than 12 seconds to get down
they
the whole field?
Yeah. It was, I think, 36 or something like that.
It was crazy.
Yeah, it was nuts. And to me, that's the thing that really stuck out. And it's something that stuck out during the Vikings-Niners game this past weekend, too. I don't understand why these NFL teams go into this prevent defense that just allows these teams to gash them. And then once they get inside like the 30, that's really when they start to play like some normal defense, or at least the field shrinks. And so it's a little bit easier to condense the field. I understand you're trying to play it safe. Look, I play softball every Thursday. And what do I tell people when we're up by 6 runs and it's the last 2 innings? You say, just nothing over your head.
No doubles.
I get it.
Yeah.
Just don't let anything go over your head. Keep everything in front of you. Keep it all manageable. I understand the logic, but at the same time, it feels like you allow these teams to get into a comfortable situation. And you saw it last night. You saw it with Brock Purdy driving down the field to put the Niners in a situation to where they could have won that game as well. I just think that I'm sick and tired of seeing these defensive coordinators when the clock is running out. I mean, you just see them allow these big chunk plays, and it makes them too comfortable. To me, you have to continue to play the defense that you're going to play for the entirety of the game. And I understand, on the other end, maybe they run a little bit deeper routes than what you're typically used to covering. But if it works for, 3 quarters all the way up till 3 quarters and 10 minutes, I don't understand why all of a sudden you completely change your defensive philosophy for the last couple minutes of the game. To me, it ends up putting these teams in way worse situations than they would be if they just played it straight up. I don't know. I don't get it. And, I think it's I think that this is the kind of thing that happens. You allow these crazy comebacks with last minute drives to happen when you play prevent defense or a version of some conservative defense like it felt like the Eagles were playing yesterday.
Yeah, there's one thing, again, to be in prevent, but it just felt so extreme.
Yeah.
I mean, there was just
very
nobody.
Soft.
Yeah, there was just nobody around them. And then what was funny, and I think this one was to Drake London on the near sideline, then you play that prevent, they get it to him, and then you still get beat. Yeah. You still got beat down the sideline. So it was a complete mess. And a lot of people are coming down the road of Vic Fangio. And Vic Fangio, his defense, as they should. I mean, if you're going to get on Kellen Moore, I mean, it was a good play call. He can't catch the ball. Saquon, most drops, as a running back, we know what he does. And a lot of people would call him a diet Christian McCaffrey, if you will, but you can't drop the ball there. But Vic Fangio, that's on him, man. And what a ridiculous scheme. And I know, Chris, I was texting my buddies that live in Philly right now, and I know they're sick and tired of. I mean, this is the type of stuff that really gets on my nerves personally. Somebody actually called this out and said that this dude would do this. I hear more from Darius Slay when the Eagles lose on Twitter than at any other time. And somebody called out, Darius Slay is going to tweet at 2 a.m., my bad, Philly, we got you. And Chris Watkins, what happened? 8:44 p.m. last night. That's on me, Philly. I owe y'all one. Damn.
Not doing anybody any good. I mean, come on.
Enough. I just, what is Philly supposed to do with that? Fair or foul real quick. And, they kind of have a reputation to hold up. They were booing the Eagles in the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously they got booed when the game lost. Fair or foul? Is that just who Philly fans are? And that's, now it's kind of to a point where, well, we kind of have to boo. That's what we do. What did you think when you heard the booing in the first quarter, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit much. They won week 1, and they're fifth quarter into the season, and they're already getting booed, and it was 0-0 still at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. I mean, it's I don't know. I mean, it's them kind of doing their thing. I think it's pretty foul, but you could probably speak more to the culture of Philly, and maybe it's just kind of that was light maybe for Philly. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's pretty foul, but they seem to it seems to be just kind of who they are.
It just seemed a little early, even for Philly.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, why? What are you trying to gain in this situation? And we all know it wasn't. And I think it was some weird play where it was 3rd and 9, and Jalen just took off.
Yeah.
And there was no way. I mean, he did do a lot of that throughout the game, but this was at the beginning of the game. It might have been even more than 3rd and 9. There was no way he was going to get it. And the play, did it make sense? No.
Right.
Should you be booing your, at that time, undefeated team in the home opener that you paid at least $155 bucks to be in there in the first quarter? Bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it worked out for him, and it did not work out for him as the Eagles weren't able to get it done. And this is one that they're going to be kicking themselves, because a lot of teams are not healthy right now. You have a healthy Saquon. Jalen Hurts to look healthier than he did all last season, to be completely honest with you. You could have snuck this one because you're missing A.J. Brown, and you cannot get it done. So it was just kind of a bizarre ending for the Eagles. And if you're the Niners, like we talked about yesterday, nobody drew blood. It was basically a push on all accounts, unless you are a true believer in the Bucs and the Saints and teams like that. So the Niners can survive while Debo gets right, while CMC gets right, and they go up against really the one contending team in the NFC, in the Rams, that are more injured than the Niners in the Rams. So we will get into that when we return. When we return as well, did Jalen Hurts convince you that he's back? We'll talk about it. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
Our first year as the radio home of the San Francisco 49ers is one we will never forget.
It's a toss to McCaffrey, a cutback run 30, breaks 340. McCaffrey midfield. McCaffrey 40, 30, 20, and just all the way down to the 3-yard line on the first play of the game. CMC Dynamite!
Congratulations to the 49ers on a terrific year. And thank you for so many wonderful memories.
When I want to stretch out after a long day, my sofa needs to be comfortable, but it also needs to look attractive and inviting when guests come to visit. Hi, I'm Frank LaRosa with a word about Naturewood Home Furnishings. We spend so much time on our living room sofas that we forget they're a focal point and a hint to our decorating tastes. Right now, during Naturewood Home Furnishings sofa sale, you can save on every sofa, including gallery-exclusive custom-ordered flex steel furniture. Whether you're interested in a new sofa, sectional, or recliner, you can choose from hundreds of colors and fabrics. Nobody has more styles and choices than Naturewood Home Furnishings. And when it comes right down to it, it's all about choices and always about quality. Shop Naturewood for the look you love at a price you'll love even more. Visit Naturewood Home Furnishings right now for this remarkable sofa sale. Off Highway 50 at Hazel, look for the water wheel.
Fargo, your virtual assistant from Wells Fargo, makes banking faster and easier. like this.
Fargo, what did I spend on groceries last month?
And this.
Fargo, turn off my debit card.
And this.
Fargo, what's my checking account routing number?
And that's just the beginning. Do you, Fargo? You can in the Wells Fargo mobile app. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/getfargo.
Fargo is only available on the smartphone versions of the Wells Fargo mobile app. Wells Fargo Bank N.A. member FDIC.
You guys got a new Honda? Well, it was like this. My mom was driving me to school when, damn, our car started smoking. My mom wasn't happy, so she called my dad and said, honey, if you value your life and our marriage, you'll take care of this now. So my dad calls up Stockton Honda and was like, can you get me approved for a new car and save my marriage? And they're all, sure, Mr. Jones, we do this every day. And just like that, Stockton Honda to the rescue.
StocktonHonda.com. Sacramento, Dirk Bentley's coming to town.
Getting drunk on a plane.
For his only show in California this year, Saturday, September 28th at Hard Health Park for Country in the Park 2.
What was I thinking?
And he's bringing some friends. Carmelie.
I want to close your eyes for this.
Tyler Rich. Dasha. And more. Saturday, September 28th at Hard Health Park. Get your tickets today before they're sold out at CITPFest.com.
Brought to you by the California Army National Guard and Red's Pizzeria and Tap House. Do you have old baseball cards and sports memorabilia from the 50s and 60s collecting dust in your closet? They could be very valuable in any condition. Find out at the Sports Cards Roadshow. We'll be in the Sacramento area to evaluate your old and modern sports cards. Visit sportscardsroadshow.com today to schedule your appointment. Ask about your free on-site sports card evaluation. For large vintage and modern collections, we can come to you. Skip the garage sale. Sports Cards Roadshow is buying. Call 1-800-560-3272 today or visit sportscardsroadshow.com.
Live and local. Live and local. This is Sacktown Sports.
The upper echelon of QBs. Jalen Hurts is there from a money standpoint, but is he there from a playing standpoint? Well, it looked like it for a good bit of last season. And I do want to take some time, guys, as we talk about Jalen Hurts. Does anybody have any, and I don't know if anyone has read anything. I've been trying to do some reading as well, just as far as why passing yards are so down. I mean, it felt like Jalen, honestly, prop talk right now, the safest bet is just under on yards. That's what it is right now. Jalen Hurts.
Unders across the board.
Unders across the board. Jalen Hurts, who really, it felt like he had a pretty good game. I mean, he threw for 183 yards.
I have a theory. Remember opening night, how many penalties were called on Baltimore? I forget exactly.
And there were a lot last night, illegal.
No. The illegal formation. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So you look at the game and you look at the offensive line, it looks completely different than how it's looked all year. They're flat now instead of essentially like how
the
birds fly.
Yes,
V. So I think that is worse for pass protection. This new lineup, the new formation, where everyone's got to be on the line. You don't have that head start of being a step back to protect your quarterback in that pocket. So you're essentially a step slower,
right. Less time
than you were.
And...
Yeah. So maybe that has something to do with it.
I'll buy it. I mean, there's definitely something. Clearly, the numbers are the numbers, right? So doesn't look the way it's looked in the past. Kirk Cousins, his over. They were both set at 226 or around there, which I thought was a little bit ridiculous because Kirk Cousins and just throws the football more. It feels like, but 241 for Kirk, 2 touchdowns. But
I had seen something a couple days ago that had said that essentially it's the way that defenses are being called nowadays. It's a lot more kind of like what I was just saying with the Eagles. Like people are just playing a lot more conservative. People are playing a lot more don't get beat over the top. And I think that's why we've seen a lot of offenses here shift to more behind the line of scrimmage passes and things like that. I think it's just more of teams trying to eliminate explosive plays. I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's the explosive plays are the things that really end up hurting your team on a Sunday. And, usually the team that has more explosive plays is the team that wins. And so I think it is just a lot of defenses saying, we're willing to give you a lot of the underneath stuff, but you're tripping if you think that we're just going to let you throw the ball over the top, like really what was happening for so long. I mean, Jared Goff the other day threw over 50 passes in his week 2 game. He just is look at Gardner Minshew's stats even. Gardner Minshew's out here completing like 26 of 30 passes, but he's getting it for 210 yards. So I think it's just a lot of short passes and a lot of defenses saying, we're not going to get beat deep. And you can nickel and dime us all you want. That's going to require your quarterback to routinely make the play over and over and over again. And I think we see with the decreased top level quarterbacks, I think that we're seeing that testing other mid-level QBs to beat you is working for a lot of defensive coordinators.
Yeah, I'm just looking here at the passing yards for everyone. Geno Smith, 327. Geno will have some just ridiculous games. 327. They still found themselves in overtime with the Patriots. Brock Purdy at number 2 with 319. Jared Goff with 307. Dak Prescott 293. Gardner Minshew 276. Sam Darnold 268. Yeah. Then after that, I mean, you're at least breaking the twos as far as that's concerned. But yeah, the Joe Burrows of the world with 258, CJ Stroud 260, just not the explosion that we're used to seeing. I mean, Trevor Lawrence 220. Ugh. Yeah. I wanted to spend some time just specifically on Jalen Hurts because I've been hard on Jalen Hurts in the past. And Jalen Hurts, to me, Chris, the one thing I noticed as I was watching that game, as I've talked to Whitey about and you about, hey, everyone talks about his running ability. I'm just not seeing the elusiveness or the quickness or whatever it is. Clearly, Jalen Hurts was, and I know he had the knee thing and he played through it. Jalen Hurts was nowhere near healthy last season. And I don't think it was necessarily hidden or anything like that. He just played through it. He looked completely different yesterday. I mean, last night, he looked like Jalen Hurts from the Super Bowl. That's what he looked like to me. He just has a knack, Chris, to make the wrong decision at the wrong time. Now, you had what was left on the clock. It was under a minute, but you had time. You didn't have timeouts, but you had a nice throw to Dallas Goedert, which if he had 3 more yards, I would have been feeling even better about it. And then you have multiple dump offs that you can go to get into Jake Elliott field goal range, and you just make the most. And he did the same thing last week. Yeah. I mean, Chris, we joked about the goblin interception with Kirk Cousins. They're about to put a goblin on Jalen Hurts interceptions. He just cannot help himself towards end of games or in certain situations. He drops back to throw the football and he starts pointing, and I get Jimmy G PTSD. I really do.
I mean, yeah, I think he's a playmaker. I think that he's just kind of trying to get that out of him, is that, all these guys, they feel like once you step out of the pocket, and it's something that they talked about a good bit with Caleb Williams on Sunday night, it's those extended plays. Like once the play breaks down and you're out here trying to scramble and make something that wasn't there initially happen, that's where you get in trouble. And I think Jalen Hurts just, as he's always been a play extender. He's always been incredibly mobile. It's just in his blood. He can't help but to try and make the superstar play. And I think it's something you have to get it beaten out of you, honestly. Like, I think that you have to get punished on those things in order to eventually have it sink in. And it just hasn't sunk in yet. And I think, you get a lot of the good plays. I think last night, especially when you have him running the way he was feeling himself. And I just think it does happen all the time, way more than when he's just feeling himself. But I just think it's just in his nature to be that play extender, to be that guy who, when things look like they're at its bleakest, he's going to make some miracle play. It used to go well with Russell Wilson all the time until it started going bad. And I think that sometimes you just get in a good run of when you are extending those plays. Sometimes you'll get 3 or 4 straight occasions of it going well. And I think sometimes that can do you bad in the long term. And I think that's kind of the story with Jalen, is just he's out here trying to make the most the biggest play possible. And, sometimes you do, like you said, just need to take that check down. Sometimes you just need to run it for 5 yards and slide. And it does feel like a lot of the times he's out here trying to make the home run play every time.
And the other thing about it is, I don't know what, and we've done this with Brock Purdy, so I'm going to do it with Jalen Hurts. I don't know what Jalen Hurts looks like if he doesn't have a ridiculous offensive line. I mean, this guy, not to go full Stephen A. Smith here, this dude literally could make a breakfast, Chris. He could do whatever he wants. Sure. He has so much time back there, and I'm just thinking quarterbacks would just love to have as much time as Jalen Hurts. And I don't know if that's on him. I don't know if that's on the wide receivers. We'll talk about the separation rates and things like that. But he has so much time. If he was behind an offensive line that did not look like what the Eagles had looked like, not just this past season, the last couple seasons, I don't know what we're doing with Jalen Hurts, because it does not seem like he's making decisions as quickly as he should. Or I guess the other side of that would be he knows he has a good offensive line, so he's looking for something and he's just taking advantage of it. I don't know which one it is. All I know is last night was completely unnecessary, that last play. And look, the game should have been over. Saquon catches that ball, or you run the football, and then after that, you don't just let Kirk Cousins with his bad Achilles moonwalk down the field. Any of those things could have prevented it. And so I'm not trying to harp on Jalen Hurts, who did play pretty darn well. But at the end, you still had an opportunity to be the guy, to be the hero. And you don't even give it. The worst is when you don't even give yourself a chance to miss the field goal. I mean, I think that's what he's got to think about. What are you trying to do in that moment? You had the nice pass to Goddard, you had an opportunity, and then the game is now cooked. He's got to learn how to just live to fight another day. And I think that, like you said, maybe with that mindset, maybe they're not even in that situation. The beginning of the game where they went for it, on 4th and 3, and they didn't get it. So this is who they are. This is what they do. And honestly, this is why I'm just not really – I don't really believe in the Eagles that much, to be completely honest with you. I think they're the best team in the NFC East, but I don't know what that means either.
Yeah, I mean, I still think that they could definitely compete for a championship. I mean, I think they are one of the best. I would put them as one of the best 4 rosters, at least, in the NFC. And I think as long as you have a chance to do it, I mean, things can go your way. Injuries can go your way. I think they still have a shot. And I mean, they have the pedigree. They also, no one really talks about them having a little bit of fire trying to get back to the Super Bowl as well. I think that they can. They would not be my favorite. They would not be my pick because of all of the warts that I think we've seen throughout the years. But I think they're definitely talented enough and can put it together. I think Jalen Hurts is good enough to put it together for a month straight and have it look good. They just need to execute better. I mean, I think that this is a team that really does kind of lack the killer instinct, like you said. I mean, I don't know if it's a Sirianni problem. I don't know if it's a Jalen Hurts problem. I definitely think that Saquon drop doesn't help. To kind of feel like, hey, we add Saquon, that can maybe be somebody that helps us kind of finish these games. And the fact that he has that big drop last night makes you feel a little bit worse about Philly's chances. But I think they're talented enough to get it done. So again, it's a wait and see kind of thing. But I don't see any reason why Philly wouldn't be one of the 4 or 5 teams that we see at the end of the season from the NFC.
Yeah, and maybe that's just a testament to the NFC being not as strong as AFC, and that's how it's been for a while now. What do you think is a bigger difference, Chris? I'm going to go cross sport here, okay? The Western Conference in the NBA versus the Eastern Conference, or the NFC in the NFL versus the AFC?
And which one is which now?
Well, the NFC being the Eastern Conference, if you will. Yeah.
But which one is tougher, or which
one is there a bigger gap in, I guess, not talent, but just as far as the Western Conference beating each other up and the AFC beating each other up versus the Eastern Conference? Oh, well, they made the playoffs, but it's the East. Oh, well, they made the playoffs, but it's the NFC.
I mean, I don't really know if there's much of a difference. I mean, I think that they are similar in that fashion. I guess I would say the West is tougher than the AFC. I mean, the AFC is really tough when it comes to the playoffs, just because of all the quarterbacks you have to go through. A lot of the teams do have some warts, but I guess I would say I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I guess the Western Conference, I suppose.
Yeah, to me, it feels like the AFC is probably tougher as it pertains to the regular season, but I would say that the Western Conference, like you said, is tougher when you get to the playoffs. So yeah, you said the opposite of that. So Western Conference, to me, when you're talking about who you have to go through in the playoffs, AFC is just a little bit tougher. So yeah, I don't know, man. looking at the Eagles and the NFC, I'm just not impressed. The problem is I'm not really that impressed with Lamar and the Bengals and some of the other AFC teams. So I guess we're going to do this thing and talk about the NFL all season long. And at the end of the day, will it be Patrick Mahomes again? Should we just fast forward to February, or will somebody be able to figure it out this season and make sure that three-peat does not happen? Coming up next, the injuries are piling up all around the league. We take you around the league to discuss who is out as we talk about Debo and Cooper Kupp with week 3 coming up. And we get into a little style espresso. Are you Kelsey'd out? Are you Manning'd out? Are you Belichick'd out? Or is it just me? Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
Did you miss any part of our live local shows? Don't worry, you never have to miss them again. Check out SacktownSports.com and search our podcast page and play our shows when you want. The Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross, Stiles and Watkins, and The Drive Guys. Plus, other podcasts like Return of the Empire, Return of the Roar, The Stingers Up podcast, and Golf to Go with Frank LaRosa.
They're all available right now on SacktownSports.com.
I didn't ask to be thrown in the streets with nowhere to go. I didn't think I'd survive. But I did ask for help, and Covenant House was there for me.
1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year. For these kids who didn't ask to be put in this unthinkable situation, Covenant House is there.
Covenant House helped me break the cycle of homelessness in my family. They gave me the love that I needed.
Over 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed tonight. When youth who are experiencing homelessness have a hot meal, a safe place to sleep, medical care, and love, they can overcome heartbreaking challenges and have a brighter future.
They just really genuinely just wanted to help me succeed, and I'm succeeding. I'm a speaker, I'm an author. Covenant House really helped me and really helped mold me into the woman I am today.
If you or someone you love is asking for help, go to safeplacetosleep.org today.
What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud phone system. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very
calm. I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business calm at ooma.com/radio.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you know that these days, generating growth is a challenge. By teaming with Bank of America, you'll not just stay ahead of the curve, you'll move it. With access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2024 Bank of America N.A.
I would end the day with sore feet, sore legs. The drugstore inserts that I was purchasing were really not very useful at all. I walked into the Good Feet store and the guy kind of grinned at me and said, I hear that a lot. I was living with chronic pain before going to the Good Feet store. Now I don't really have that problem. I'm able to do the things that I expect to be able to do, even at my advanced age. I feel pretty good about what's going on.
Come to the Good Feet store now for a free fitting and test walk.
Advanced Infusion Center, where wellness meets vitality. Unlock your full potential with our customized Liquid Vita vitamin IV drips tailored to fit your unique lifestyle. Whether you're an athlete aiming for peak performance or travel often and looking to stay healthy, we have an IV just for you. At Advanced Infusion Center, we understand that wellness isn't just one size fits all. That's why our expert team is here to personalize your infusion experience. Ready to elevate your wellness journey? Call Advanced Infusion Center today or visit us at advancedinfusion.com.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave for American Energy Heating and Air with a question. Have you recently had a technician diagnose your HVAC system and you were a bit surprised at how much it cost? Or did something seem off about their quote? Because at American Energy, they take pride in giving you honest, straightforward solutions to get that system up and running. Have their qualified technicians come out and give you a free second opinion. It's free. You got nothing to lose but some dollars off of that original quote. They're making the uncomfortable comfortable. They've been doing it since 1981, serving the greater Sacramento area. A+ with the Better Business Bureau. That's why they keep having customers coming back for more and more and more. You can call them and set that appointment at 916-520-9990. That's 916-520-9990 or AmericanEnergyAir.com.
Call 916-520-9998 now.
Sacktown Sports.
Check us out on YouTube. Search Sacktown Sports and subscribe.
UC Davis football is back in action this Saturday. Sacktown Sports has once again proudly partnered up with UC Davis football to keep you laced up with the Aggies all season long. At 1 p.m., we're going to find a lucky number to be that caller. Score our Stiles Watkins Family 4-pack and parking to check out the Aggies. Aggie Up hosting Utah Tech this Saturday. What was it? The Utah Tech Trailblazers this Saturday. For more information, visit sacktownsports.com. Tickets did go fast yesterday. It's going to be beautiful on Saturday. You know, guys, I was thinking, is it too much? Because I do this sometimes, right? I do this sometimes, and in my mind, it feels like a good idea, but then it happens, and it just feels like a lot. So, you know, I've told you how much I pay for NFL ticket and Red Zone. So there's a part of me last week, I'm coming back from Tahoe, so I didn't really get to utilize it. And I get very upset if I am not sitting down watching football when I've paid so much for this thing, right? So this weekend, obviously, we're going to boxing, going to see Amari Jones and 8 fights prior to Amari Jones. And, you know, I got some brownie points that I can use, and I'm thinking that I want to golf before we go to the fight because I don't want to golf on Sunday because I don't want to miss football again. I want to take advantage of the NFL ticket, but in my mind, it might be I might be doing too much. Golf and then boxing, it's a late night. Well, what should I do?
I think that doing anything on a Sunday morning after you plan to do anything on a Saturday night is a mistake.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. I think if I blow it all out on Saturday, it just is what it is. Just is what it is. And
yeah.
I have to double down
Sunday
this
to rest.
weekend too.
What are you doing?
Friday night, Kayla's having I live in a small apartment.
Okay.
12 people are coming over.
Yeah.
And so I gotta head out because they're gonna be over late. I can't be in there. So I gotta go and go do something Friday night, like go have fun or have like a party or something, or like go
Sounds
out.
like you're having a party.
I'm not going to
book
that
club?
Nah, they're making some stuff. They're doing some girl
It's like
stuff.
okay. So it's a girlfriend event. It's not you are not connected to the event.
No. So I got to go out on the town or something crazy. So I got to double down too.
Wow. Well, you don't
Saturday
have
night.
to.
What else? Where am I going to go? On the streets?
I like that thought process. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Now I got to stay out till 2 a.m.
I got to go play pool with my friends all night.
Now I got to go to Tiger.
I
got to go to Tiger.
I'm not going to Tiger. No.
There's nothing else I can do. Well, Nate, we wish you the best. Hey, give me a call. Maybe we'll
no, you just said you don't want to. That'd be tripling down.
That'd be tripling down.
Which is better than doubling
Double
down.
down.
Yeah.
Double down. I'm going to double down. And
Mhm.
we're doubling down on injuries right now, guys, in the NFL. Here is a list of some of those injuries. Puka on the IR. Christian McCaffrey on the IR. Pacheco, fractured leg. Tua, concussion. Jefferson, knee. Kupp, ankle. Jordan Love, knee. Jordan Addison, ankle. David Njoku, ankle. You have Mostert with the chest. T. Higgins, a hamstring. Ferguson with a knee. Keenan Allen with a heel. And Ingram with the hamstring. You can add Debo to that list as well. It's pretty ridiculous, Chris, but I know we do this every season, and we say, oh, it's really bad this year. Does it actually feel worse this year, or is this just something that we do every season, and there's just injuries at the beginning of every season as these guys are kind of getting into football shape?
Yeah, I mean, this happens to an extent every year, but this is definitely not great when you have Christian McCaffrey, somebody who I think that this is more so from a fantasy perspective. Like when you have people who are, going in the first rounds of a lot of fantasy drafts, you have Justin Jefferson, even though he is probably going to play this weekend, but Cooper Kupp is going to miss a couple weeks here. Christian McCaffrey's obviously out until week 7. David Njoku. I think that there's just a lot of really big names that are out, but I feel like typically, and more so last year, we saw a lot of quarterbacks go down. So I would honestly much rather have all of these, running backs and receivers go down, because it feels like when the quarterback goes down, that's really obviously when teams really start to change identity. It's when you go from, hey, the Packers can definitely be a dark horse to win the NFC in total, to I don't know if the Packers are going to make the playoffs because they have Malik Willis. I don't know if anyone would be saying that if the Packers had Christian Watson out and Josh Jacobs out. I feel like people would still have a lot more faith. And in general, it feels like the Packers would be better off having their quarterback and having some of their skill position players injured. So in a weird way, I guess this is better than last year, but definitely we're only 2 weeks in. And those are some the Tua stuff, like we don't know how long he's going to be out for. Christian McCaffrey's out already until week 7. Puka's going to be out until week 5. We don't know about Cooper Kupp, but there's a lot of really devastating injuries, really big injuries to some really important teams. Maybe that's more what it is too, is, it's the Niners, it's the Rams, it's the Packers. Again, we have really big team names, Chiefs as well. Yeah, big injuries. Hollywood Brown. I don't even think Hollywood Brown is on this list. And so, you just have a lot of really big injuries to some of the biggest teams.
Let me ask you this. Were you holding your breath? That was towards the end of, it might have even been the third quarter. It was the second half. Were you holding your breath like I was when Kirk Cousins, there was nothing available? He took off for about 3-4 steps, and then it wasn't a tackle because I think he gained a yard or something like that. I do not want to see him doing stuff like that.
Yeah, no. Anytime Aaron or Kirk just does any sort of movement, it looks very uncomfortable. And I hold my breath every time, just because, how easy it is for that thing to just go. And you can just tell that you can see like their mental trepidation as they're moving. It's like, I really don't want to, the next step I take could be the last one. So I should probably just go down. I'm not a fan of it. I wanted Alex Smith to retire immediately. So I can't watch these guys that I know have injuries then go out there and try and play through them.
Well, and it's funny because I will get this. I will get the exact date, because Chris and I were coming up. Well, we have some time, but we're getting close to coming up on our 1-year anniversary of Stiles and Watkins. And I say that because when I first showed up last year, pretty much around this time, maybe just slightly later,
right after Media Day.
It was right after Media Day. And at that time, I was the one where we would finish a show. You don't really know me. I'm trying to explain my Achilles situation. We're walking down the stairs, and it's just walking down gingerly sideways as I can. Chris, like, I got places to be. Can we kind of get going? And now, almost a year later, which is over a year now from when I actually tore it, I'm clearly I can go up and down the stairs and stuff, but
still got a little sideways.
There's still a little something in your brain, even if it's just mental.
Right.
And Kirk Cousins, he tore his way later than me and way later than Aaron Rodgers. So he was probably the one that I don't feel like we talked about enough as it pertains to him coming back from injury. He just said, I'm going to be out there. And really, if you're the Falcons, the idea of paying him, that was kind of the question mark as well. So interesting stuff there. I did want to go just a very, very quick style espresso, because I just want to see if I'm alone on this. Okay. There are a couple guys here, and we've talked about this in a different version before, but I'm going to keep it going. 2 of them are brothers. One of them is by themselves. And you have Travis Kelce. You have Jason Kelce. Jason Kelce, there's a video of he's dancing on the stage. I guess there was some pre-concert that was going on.
ACL? He chest bumped, like belly bumped one huge Eagles fan on the stage, and the dude definitely tore his knee up. He lands from the belly bump and then just grabs his leg immediately. So he has to be walked off the stage.
He's out here. Joe Buck is saying, all right, we're gonna. Jason's getting made up right now. We're gonna have him up here. Thanks for taking some time away from the beer keg, and we're Jason
A lot
Kelce.
of drinking going on in ESPN these days.
They just, nobody cares. And you know what? Maybe they said, you want us to be more real.
Yeah.
We'll be more real. And you have that going on. Then you can't change the channel. You got the Manning cast going on. It's just a lot, man. And then McAfee, Bill Belichick is on he's got the whole thing is set up.
Yeah,
Bill
he was
Belichick.
on the whole half of Manning cast.
I think he's on every Manning cast.
Yeah, he was on the entirety of the first half. I just thought it was going to be first quarter.
And then every Tuesday he's doing a Belichick hit on McAfee. If you were to rank, I know Belichick is new, and maybe this is an obvious conversation, but if you were to rank your tiredness of these guys between the Kelce's, the Mannings, and I don't even know if Belichick really deserves to be in there. But the Kelce's, for me, I guess my larger point is it's getting to Manning status for me. And I know they played in Philly, and that's why Jason Kelce was there. And I really did like the interview with him and Jalen Hurts. But it's getting close, Chris. It's getting close to all right. And then you have Travis Kelce with Taylor Swift. It's just enough, man. Enough.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the Kelce fatigue a little bit. I mean, I'm not really a bro culture kind of media consumer, so I'm not huge on the Kelce's being like, they're fun. And that's the thing that I do enjoy is that, especially in football, it's like, can we laugh a little bit? Can we just enjoy ourselves just a little bit? But, yeah, some of it's a little bit shticky, and, him with the Schwami outfit or whatever it is that he's wearing, like that's like, the Schefter thing was crazy. He's at midfield. Guys are legitimately warming up 20 minutes before the game, and Schefter's just out there with this ridiculous outfit on. That's a little bit tired, and I can do without. But I don't really consume much of the Kelce content, so I don't really see much of it. I could see how it would get very annoying and a little bit detracting from, like, it feels like a whole separate, it's like, hey, let's do NFL Live. Okay, now let's do like a 3-minute. It's almost like the Lonely Island Boys on SNL, where it's like, hey, here's SNL, and then here's like 3 minutes of an escape of like a short that these guys did, that this is really all they focus on.
Yes.
And that's kind of what Jason Kelce is. I actually like the Mannings. I turned the Manning cast on yesterday for pretty much the entire broadcast. And if you have no horse in the race, and if you're just like passively watching the game, to me, the Manning cast was great because I didn't really have to pay super close attention to the actual game. And I felt like they were telling me a lot of things that I felt like I just wouldn't pay attention to, or just keying in on things to pay attention to. So I actually am a fan of the Manning cast in limited capacity. Belichick, I still think is fine. It's just he's not entertaining. He's really good on the Manning cast, I thought.
Yeah, I think I hear you on the
And this
the
is
Manning
more of
cast.
a you thing anyway.
Yes. I think the issue was specifically last night, there was no relief. There was no, can I just watch the game? Can I just, do we need the shtick? Can we watch the game with no shtick? And I might sound like get off my lawn a little bit. Well, you know what? Get off it. Coming up next, you know what? Kings basketball is coming soon. And we're going to discuss which single Kings home game are you the most excited about. Chris has laid some out for us, and we will break them all down coming up next. Stiles Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
On the move? Got somewhere to be?
Take Sacramento Kings basketball with you. The Sacktown Sports app will let you stay connected to your passion. Never miss a moment of Sacramento Kings basketball with the Sacktown Sports app.
Insurance companies perform a very valuable service, but they want to keep their money. Although most cases settle before trial, it is paramount that the insurance companies know that if pressed, your legal team has the experience to take your case all the way. For 25 years, Ashton & Price has earned the reputation that if the insurance company isn't fair, we're ready to force them to be fair. My mom used to warn me, wait till dad gets home. Think of us as dad. The best part, there's no fee until we win.
Remember, for the best advice, don't think twice. Call Ashton & Price.
Khalid, live in concert. See him performing at the venue at Thunder Valley, Saturday, October 5th. Get tickets now at ThunderValleyResort.com. Don't miss the sensational Khalid for one night only at the venue at Thunder Valley, Saturday, October 5th. For more, visit KhalidOfficial.com.
I'm Ken Korak with your Green and Gold Report, brought to you by Xfinity Mobile. Connect to the most reliable 5G network nationwide. Well, it will certainly be emotional when the A's get back home to begin the final homestand in Oakland. And think of all the success the A's have had over the years at the Coliseum. In fact, the A's have the most walk-off wins in baseball beginning in 1968, including 3 on the last homestand, the home run by Shea Langoliers and 2 singles by Seth Brown.
Want to save on some of the biggest names in streaming on the network made for streaming? Now through September 21st, get 150 megabit Xfinity internet for 12 months with a 1-year contract. And for just $15 a month, add the new Stream Saver. That includes Peacock, Apple TV Plus, and Netflix for just $35 a month. Switch at Xfinity.com today. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay to store bank account. Equipment taxes and fees extra. After promo, regular internet rates apply. Currently $54 a month. Actual speeds vary. Stream Saver requires Xfinity internet or TV and price subject to change.
Golf to Go is brought to you by the Hagen Oaks Golf Super Shop. Here's Frank LaRosa.
Since you probably can't afford your own sports psychologist, Golf Monthly's Fergus Bissett offers 5 golf psychology tips to help you play better. First, stay in the present. If your mind is ahead of you, how can you focus on the shot at hand? Second, every shot is a new challenge. The objective of every shot is to get the ball in the hole in the least amount of strokes. Go do it. 3, the past is the past. Many of us dwell on the past. Not good. Clear your mind and move on to the next shot. 4, never surrender. Some give up on their rounds too quickly. Your fortunes on the course can change with 1 swing or 1 decent break. Lastly, stay positive on the greens. If you're having one of those days where the putts don't drop, focus on the positives. If you're putting on your intended line, that's a good thing. Keep it up and they'll begin to fall. And remember, it's a game, so go out there and have some fun. That's your Golf to Go. I'm Frank LaRosa.
DC here for Folsom Lake Kia, where they make car shopping easy with a huge selection of new Kia models, low payments, and 0 down deals with approved credit. Folsom Lake Kia, your trusted dealer in Folsom for over 25 years. FolsomLakeKia.com.
KHTKAM Sacramento, KYMX HD2 Sacramento. From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios, your new home for 49ers football in the 916.
Sacktown Sports.
Sacktown Sports. Call or text at 916-339-1140.
As we get ready for the Kings season, I mean, Chris, this is a highly anticipated season, man. Highly anticipated, at least as far as I'm concerned. And what games are you anticipating the most? I said it was Chris. It was actually Nate who has some games for us to go over and discuss which ones you are the most excited about. And we can go other. I'm sure there's other.
Well, if it's your favorite game, it should be other.
Right? That's right. That's right. All right, Nate, what you got?
Well, opening night's pretty awesome. It's cool that the Kings are opening up in Golden One Center. I believe, what is that, 3 years in a row now they've done that?
No,
or 2?
they didn't open up last
They
year.
were in Utah
last year.
Okay, but the opener was against Portland, right?
No, Utah.
No, but in Golden One?
I don't remember.
Okay, all right. All right. Well, whatever. Hey, well, good start. Good start. They got Minnesota opening night, which is really cool. Should be a fun one. You would think both these teams are going to be in the hopefully top 4 of the West, right? It'll be exciting to see Ant here at Golden One, as it always is. But the one I guess that really stuck out to me is February 21st. Which is a Friday, and that is the first game back after All-Star break, and it's against Golden State. So hopefully the Kings are healthy and ready to go. Hopefully they're wearing the throwback unis that night. That would be really cool. I don't know when they're going to introduce those. Do you guys know when they drop the jersey? There's a jersey schedule, isn't there?
I thought they did.
Yeah, they announced it at some point. They announced some of the games yesterday, but not all of the games for yesterday.
Regardless, Friday night against Golden State after the All-Star break. I mean, hopefully we're seeing Fox and Sabonis at the All-Star break. It's that one I think is probably the one I have with the biggest circle around it.
Yeah, I still can't really find a team off the top of my head or two teams where there is, I guess, from an outside standpoint. Obviously, we're in Sacramento, but even when I guess I was in the Bay, so it's the same difference, just on the other side. But I'm just trying to think of other teams that I just truly don't care about at all, and what rivalries would make me want to watch. And I'm pairing that up against how I talk to people that aren't connected to the Warriors or the Kings, and how excited they are to watch Warriors Kings. Because I'm trying to think off the top of my head, just other rivalries where I'm a basketball fan, my team isn't playing, but I have to watch this game. I still don't think there's anything like it, especially because of the proximity and things like that. I mean, Lakers Celtics to me doesn't hit the same way. I think at one point, Grizzlies Warriors, I think that's done now. And obviously, the Bay has that connection. But I'm just trying to think, Chris.
What about when it comes to like playoff implication, like later in the season when it's the 1 and 3 in the West going against each other? Is that something that you'll be like, all right, I have to watch this tonight?
Yeah, I think once there's stuff on the line, but I think that's the whole point, right? I'm talking about random
teams that hate each other,
teams that just do not like each other. There's just a level of connection. I know the Suns, they'll pick a team. Devin Booker, really, they'll pick a team to beef with, and even going to the East with the Sixers. I don't know. They're good matchups that I'll watch, but just the pageantry, I guess you could say, of the rivalry, I don't think there's anything like Kings Warriors.
Yeah. Well, another one I have here is April 13th, which is a Sunday afternoon game, 12:30 against the Suns. Mm-hmm. Phoenix Suns are coming to town. Last home game of the year. Hopefully that game has both the little bit of hatred, a little bit of playoff implication. I mean, you got to assume by that time everyone will be playing for Phoenix. Hopefully they're all healthy, right? Mm-hmm. Just to be nice, you want everyone to be healthy and go against the Kings, and maybe they'll have implication for like a specific spot. It'll be tight enough in the West. That one should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, though I really like opening night. I think that's always just a really fun night. It being against Minnesota is going to be a really big game. It's also the first and pretty much only home game for a while. I know they play Portland the following Monday, but then they go on a 5-game road trip and then aren't home again until November 6th. So that opening night's going to be a big one. Also, just obviously want to get a big win in the start of the season. And the two games that I have circled, March 24th and March 25th. End of the season at home, back-to-back Boston, and then against OKC. It's kind of right before an easier stretch to end the season. They end the season with a 10-game stretch of Portland, Orlando, Indy, Washington, Charlotte, Cleveland, Detroit, and then home for Denver, Clippers, Phoenix. That little 6-game road trip of Orlando, Indy, Washington, Charlotte, Cleveland, and Detroit, those have to be wins. If the Kings can end the season on a nice little, 5-1, 6-0, 4-2 run on the road before coming home and playing Denver, Clippers, Phoenix, I think that would go a really long way. And those Boston OKC games I mentioned, March 24th and 25th, back-to-back, those are really the last two tough tests before you go on that easier stretch. If the Kings can get those two wins, or one of those two wins, even just splitting it, which is going to be tough with it both, with it being the front end of a back-to-back and then obviously the back end of a back-to-back. If they can get one of those wins heading into that road trip, I think that's how you set yourself up at the end of the year to maybe leapfrog some teams. Last year the Kings had a pretty brutal end to their schedule. I think even ending Denver, Clippers, Phoenix isn't ideal, but the fact that leading into that end of the season, you do have a couple easier opponents leading into that, I think is a really, really important stretch of games. Kind of similar last year when we look at those two Dallas games, the back-to-back where infamously, I guess at this point, Luka falls on Malik gets down, and then the next game, Luka has the point at Vlade and you should have drafted me games. I kind of look at the Boston OKC games a little bit like that, where it's a good kind of final test leading into that postseason stretch. Who are you as a team? How good are you? And what can we realistically expect when you are going to be playing some of the tougher opponents in that'll be about 3 weeks out from playoff basketball. I think that's going to be a really good sign as to where exactly the Kings are as a team. Against Boston, against OKC, both games at home. The OKC game on the Tuesday is going to be on TNT. That's a really big opportunity for this team to show to the entire nation exactly where they're at.
When December 19th, too, the Kings have not back-to-back teams. They have the Lakers on the 19th, and then I also got the 21st. That's coincidentally my birthday. Lakers on the 19th and 21st, right before Christmas, both at home.
And then on the 28th on the road as well.
Not even a 2-week span. It's what?
It's a 1 week span.
9 days. Yeah, they got the Lakers three times. So I think that should be a lot of fun. And again, potential implication for the playoffs.
Yeah, right after the NBA Cup as well, too. So we'll see how the Kings fare in that as, they got Minnesota, Clippers, Portland, and Houston in the NBA Cup this year. Those games, of course, are going to be ones to watch.
I'm looking at these guys, and I was looking more at 2024, and I'm still stuck on this just as far as not to kind of move the conversation, but I do think that there are going to be a lot of fun games to go to this year for the Kings, and we're going to get into De'Aaron Fox here and really how he can take the next steps on the other side. But I am thinking, as you talk about the humdrum of the NBA season, and obviously we're in the middle of football, and football, you don't really need rivalries as much because there's only 18 weeks and every game's matter, and we know about the urgency. But there really aren't the 2024, the rivalry week that they cooked up for 2024 was January 23rd through the 27th. It was Knicks at Nets, Lakers at Clippers, Suns at Mavericks, Thunder at Spurs, Celtics at Heat, Kings at Warriors, Mavericks at Hawks, Blazers at Spurs, Heat at Knicks, Sixers at Nuggets. Bizarre. And then you had Lakers at Warriors. Do you think that the NBA needs more rivalries? And it's got to be organic, obviously, right? You don't want it to seem fake, and maybe Ja Morant coming back into the fold will help that. But yeah, if there really aren't any games where if you're just a random fan, unless you just want to watch good basketball, there are no real rivalries that are budding right now, honestly, besides Warriors Kings, unless I'm just completely missing something.
Well, yeah, I don't think rivalries are really between teams anymore. I think it's between players. You see it be Steph versus LeBron, Steph versus KD, right? LeBron versus KD. Like it's more so player based than actual teams, and I think that's what people care about from especially from a casual perspective. If you don't have a favorite basketball team, then you definitely have a favorite basketball player, and I think that's just how the casual audience cares more so about. And so when you say Denver Sixers, you don't get that rivalry. Well, that's Jokic versus Embiid. And so I think that's kind of where the NBA is starting to go, is as they know it's a player-driven league, and they're the ones that people show up for. And I think that's really what the NBA rivalries are today. That's why they don't really stick out with Lakers, Celtics anymore. It's because, now the same Lakers Celtics team 2 years apart will be completely different casts. So it's tough to even build rivalries because there's not that connective tissue that stays throughout the entire time. Bird versus Magic, those two were figures of those two teams for the entirety of the decade. Nowadays, Larry Bird and Magic might have played in 81, 82, but by 88, it's not even Larry. Larry's out in Cleveland, and Magic is, I don't know, maybe he joined Larry in Cleveland. I think it's just it's really tough to kind of build these amongst teams, and I guess that's why maybe, like you're saying, Kings Warriors seems to be the only team heavy rivalry. But there's definitely, Celtics Knicks, Celtics Sixers. There's a lot of rivalries out there of teams that just straight up don't like each other.
Yeah. And we're going to see a lot of it coming up soon. But coming up next, the stars are aligning for one De'Aaron Fox. Will we know if he is an elite number one option by the end of this season? Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
You never know what you might hear when listening to a Sacramento Kings game.
Out of Keegan, going for another triple. Man, is he feeling it. Keegan, can he do it? Yes, there's number 11, Keegan Murray. Keegan steps back. He just knocked down his 12th three-pointer, a Kings franchise record. He's got 45 points.
Never miss a moment of Sacramento Kings basketball with Sacktown Sports and the Sacktown Sports app.
Mom, meet Sarah.
From first-time Nana moments.
Yeah, welcome to Flight 101.
To annual girls trip moments. Your can't-miss moments are worth protecting against RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV. And there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy two. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Live and local. Live and local.
This is Sacktown Sports.
The stars are aligning. His shoes coming out. Is he still in China, Chris, or they came back?
No, he came back. He was at the Texans game on Monday.
There you go.
On Sunday night.
Did you get your flowers too for your voiceover?
No.
That was not on the air.
No, it wasn't.
Okay. Yeah.
What do you mean it wasn't on the air?
Well, you didn't talk about it on the air or anything.
We didn't talk about it yesterday?
I don't remember it.
No, it was not brought up. I'm not going to bring it up.
Too much football, sorry, on a Monday, but good call.
That was pretty cool.
So if you saw what were the accounts connected with it? I know what was under Curry,
we should
Under Armour.
find the audio before we talk about it.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what we're talking about.
So basically, if you were listening, I think I might have been out this day, but Chris was breaking down De'Aaron Fox's and Steph Curry's trip overseas, and I get a text on Sunday, and it is the account from Under Armour, and basically they not shouted out, but they used Chris's audio on their promo for De'Aaron Fox and Steph Curry, and we are extremely proud of Chris doing his thing, and it sounded great. We're working on getting
my royalty check.
Yeah, well, we're gonna get it, and that's how.
Better at least get a pair of shoes or something.
I mean, you're gonna get the Buzz Lightyear ones.
I got it right here, guys. We're ready.
Buzzies, the Buzzy ones. Let's hear Chris's angelic voice on this promo.
Stephen Curry and De'Aaron Fox will be making their way to China as a part of Curry Brand's China tour, where they will unveil the first ever Curry Brand retail store. Starting my career, getting it ready.
So, walk us through
I'm a
this.
Curry athlete.
So
Curry Brand
Can you
athlete.
confirm what accounts those are on?
That is from UA Under Armour basketball. Posted that one on Twitter, and I think it might have been Curry Brand that posted it on Instagram.
So what? So were you partnered with them? Did they steal your audio from
Who's
the
their
show?
source? Yeah, they ripped the audio.
Is it Franco?
I'm not really, liable
So
to
can you at least
disclose those
all
kind
right,
of things.
fine.
No,
You signed an
I'm
NDA. Can you at least walk us through this?
First the run, now this.
How did you find out?
One program at a time.
How did you find out that this happened? Did you follow these accounts? Did somebody hit you up?
No, I do not follow these accounts. I found out literally the same way you found out. I had no idea.
Somebody hit you
Frankie texted us.
Wow.
Frankie texted us the video. What was it? Sunday morning.
Oh,
or
that's
whatever.
when you found out.
That's when I found out. I had no idea. I was not hit up or anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's that audio from? Bleacher Report?
No,
Or
it's
is it
it's from when Alan was
remember-
out.
yeah, I remember
and,
the segment.
Yeah, we covered. Thank you. We covered Steph and De'Aaron starting their tour, and I guess
Dude.
hey, this. Honestly, if I were doing my shout outs, first and foremost, like to thank our digital team. Shout out to our digital team who gets it up quickly. They cut all the segments once a day, sacktownsports.com or youtube.com/sacktownsports.
They should have hit us up. We could have got them the pure raw.
Pulled it from that.
Could have got the better audio quality. They would have emailed us.
Maybe
would have paid you.
People
that's
got
probably
off their
why.
behind.
Yeah,
so we could
that's
have
probably
good audio
why.
on our streams.
Yeah.
Chris is. I like this, Chris.
Hey, man, this is
Chapatio Tuesday. The price is going up.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
All I ask for is a single. I don't even need a pair. Just give me a single shoe. Just a single shoe. That's all I ask.
Just walk around with one shoe at every game. Yeah. You just put it next to you at your seat.
It's like my placeholder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excuse me, sir. Did you not see the shoe there?
Yeah.
Please.
Excuse me, Alan. You can't sit here and pour the shoe.
Well. Yeah.
The follow up to this is, Alan, how mad are you that Chris got this?
I don't know. Why do people do this? Why do I like to see my team?
Because Chris was the solo.
I like to see my team.
Yeah, exactly.
Whenever I don't know why people think I'm like a crab in a barrel. I like to see my team win.
A bad teammate.
I was a bad teammate a long time ago.
What's a crab in a barrel?
It's
Two Americas.
Yeah, two Americas. Two Americas kind of thing.
I honestly, what was happening, I was getting ready to leave Tahoe, and you can be very stressful. And I saw the text, and I was very excited.
We're going home. This is what happens. I told you I can't miss the show.
I'm paying for Red Zone. I can't even watch it. Chris
just starts getting mad at
money. I'm losing money in a multitude of ways. Chris got the call, not me.
I want my one shoe.
Yep.
Size 7.
It's my shoe. It's ridiculous. I'm very happy for Chris, and more people need to. More people need to
I think
get.
Al was the first one who responded as well.
Of course,
he was very.
I'm
very
so happy for you, Chris. I'm so happy.
Great for your career.
I don't know what this is. I'm very happy for Chris Watkins.
Yeah, it could have happened to maybe. Nah, it's fine. Let me not mess my money up. It's fine.
Look,
I'm honored. I am honored.
Well, you should be. Honored. And now you're connected to Curry.
Please do not go and look at some other tape. That's all I will say, Curry brand. Do not look at some other film that I've had. I did literally think, I'm really glad that in that I didn't say Wardell Stephen Curry. Like, I normally address him as Wardell.
Starting a segment, so you were being legit.
I was like, yes, thankfully, because literally it feels like in any other segment, if they would have, like, if you were there, that doesn't happen because I probably call him Wardell,
right?
And they probably are like, why did he do that?
Alan's like, I should have been there. Then.
I don't like this, Nate. I don't know what your what's your
this is gaslighting.
Nate?
This is the definition of gaslighting.
Of the highest order.
You're right.
You're wearing a Debo shirt. The guy can't even play. I mean, figure it out.
What does that have to do with anything?
Because you're just lost right now.
You're just looking to take shots any way you can. I get it.
People hurt people.
Yeah,
that's right. Well, I'm
when you're jealous,
minding my business.
That's it.
Giving
just trying
Chris
to up
flowers, and you're thinking that I'm upset about something. Why would I be upset? We're a team, like bad boys.
Yep. It's Stiles and Watkins.
That's what I was like. Wait, which one's which?
Stiles. Watkins.
I'd like to be Martin Lawrence. I think you could.
I probably have to be Martin Lawrence.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I'll take. Who's Martin Lawrence and who's Will Smith? 916-339-1140. Coming up next, let's get into that conversation about one De'Aaron Fox, and then a little bit later, is Brock going to prove that he's worth $60 million? Well, he might have to. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
Keegan Murray plays here.
Keegan scores another three-pointer. Keegan Murray knocking it down for 23 points. Snatch De'Aaron Fox for game scoring honors.
Sacktown Sports is your proud home of the Sacramento Kings.
Hi, I'm Angie Hicks, co-founder of Angie. And one thing I've learned is that you buy a house, but you make it a home. Because with every fix, update, and renovation, it becomes a little more your own. So you need all your jobs done well. For nearly 30 years, Angie has helped millions of homeowners hire skilled pros for the projects that matter. From plumbing to electrical, roof repair to deck upgrades. So leave it to the pros who will get your jobs done well. Hire high-quality certified pros at Angie.com.
You might wonder, John Legend, how do you keep your voice sounding so legendary? Honey. And how do I keep my protection against COVID-19 up to date? with a COVID shot this season, designed for recent variants.
You can get your COVID-19 shot when getting your flu shot if you're due for both, as recommended by the CDC.
The fresher, the better.
Ask your healthcare provider about getting this season's COVID-19 shot when getting your flu shot.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
The last 6 Sacramento Rivercats games of the 25th anniversary season are packed with promotions and theme nights. Join us for Hispanic Heritage Night on September 17th, the Rivercats Golfer Hat Giveaway on September 20th, our inaugural Harry Potter Night on September 21st, and cap off the homestand with Fan Appreciation Day for the final game of the season on Sunday, September 22nd. Make your way to the ballpark for a farewell to the Rivercats of 2024. Visit rivercats.com to purchase tickets today.
Hey, this is Greg Pop-Up. Are you working through a major insurance claim? Sunpoint Public Adjusters can help. Sunpoint prepares, presents, and negotiates your claim with the insurance company, working only for you, making sure you get everything you're entitled to, not what just some adjuster working for an insurance company thinks you should get. Call Sunpoint today at 888-247-7865 or contact us at sunpoint.us. Sunpoint Public Adjusters, the gold standard in public adjusting.
License number 2N14884. High voltage live boxing action returns to Northern California Saturday, September 21st at the venue at Thunder Valley with Thunder Showdown, featuring the undefeated 12th ranked welterweight in the world, Amari Jones. Get tickets now at Ticketmaster.com. Play cards subject to change.
Sponsored by Xfinity Internet. Enjoy ultimate control of your home network. Personalize your Wi-Fi name and password. Assign user profiles. View and control connected devices and more with the Xfinity Internet app.
Sacramento, Dirk Bentley's coming to town.
Getting drunk on a plane.
For his only show in California this year, Saturday, September 28th at Hard Health Park for Country in the Park 2.
What was I thinking?
And he's bringing some friends. Parmalee,
Close your eyes for this.
Tyler Rich, Dasha,
Working.
and more. Saturday, September 28th at Hard Health Park. Get your tickets today before they're sold out at CITPFest.com.
Brought to you by the California Army National Guard and Red's Pizzeria and Tap House.
What would it take for a plumbing company to earn your trust? Jerry and Kenny here from Bell Brothers. And let's face it, plumbing and service companies don't always have the best reputation.
So to earn your trust, the first thing they'd have to do is actually answer the phone when you call with a real live person. Then they'd have to send a plumber when you needed them, day or night, without charging extra for emergency services.
A trustworthy plumber would show up on time, wearing a clean uniform and name badge, and be able to show that they had passed a background check and drug test.
A plumber you could trust would give you a firm quote on the job before starting and clean up after they finish the job.
That's exactly the plumber you'll get when you call Bell Brothers, a plumber you can trust. Call Bell Brothers right now for all your plumbing needs. Our number is 916-444-1234 or find us online at thenosurpriseguys.com.
The No Surprise Guys, Bell Brothers.
When shopping for a new car, what do you want? A great selection? A low monthly payment? More for your trade? At Northern California's #1 Honda dealer, Stockton Honda, you get it all.
Model year-end savings are going on now. It's savings you just can't say no to.
Come in today or go to StocktonHonda.com.
Anytime, anywhere, it's all here. StocktonHonda.com.
Number one claims based on 2023 total new and Honda certified pre-owned vehicle car sales from American Honda Motor Company. Sold on report.
Sacktown Sports.
Check us out on YouTube. Search Sacktown Sports and subscribe.
From the 707, can't believe they did my boy Chris like that. Where's the thread? Yeah, they didn't get you a tag or nothing.
See, okay, maybe we can talk about this because my sister, as I sent it to my family after, my sister was like, dang, like they didn't ask you didn't get like residuals or nothing. And I just like, or even, in the post tag or I don't know. I felt like it's, if I were to go back and ask them, like
No,
it's just, I was like, it just feels a little tacky, a little look at me Louie-ish.
It is kind of weird though. I mean, they went, they make this promo. They went out of their way to Google, and like we said, our YouTube numbers are doing really well. And they see you right? And or they find it.
Yeah.
They see the name.
Yeah.
They
no
see
consent
where
given
it's from.
either. Like,
No consent
again,
given.
I don't really care at all. I would have said yes, obviously, but yeah, no, nothing.
This
I don't
is
really know what the rules are.
Yeah, I don't.
Something like that.
I don't know. I
guess their argument is like, Chris, it's good for you that I could use it as for my reel, or I don't know what.
But
I think the argument is it's mutually beneficial.
But
yes,
you wouldn't have even known.
Correct. Very correct. If Frankie didn't send it, I still wouldn't know.
Yeah, there are a couple times where ESPN has been guilty of that, where they'll just take people's home videos, like your video, but then they weirdly tag you so that it's hard to see.
Right.
I had one, a buddy of mine. I was trying to figure out what type of, this is a couple years ago, what type of haircut I wanted. And I think I Googled like black taper.
Okay.
And his picture popped up on Google.
Oh, really?
Like, it was like the third
the
or
barber
fourth.
that you were going
No,
to.
my buddy's picture of his haircut. So he got his haircut
that would
somewhere.
Shake me. That would really shake me.
He got his haircut somewhere. And apparently it got
turned
posted
into a
somewhere,
template.
and it's just literally a template, and he had no clue. He had no clue.
That's more scary to me than
it was
what
like
happened
the
with
first
me.
when you Google image, he was like the first 15, first 20.
I don't.
And I said, did you know
I could DM Curry Brand. I don't know what you do.
No,
like you DM Google.
Do you know that you are black haircut taper? Do you know that you're number 20 on black haircut taper?
Right.
So
that would definitely be in my Instagram bio. 1,000,000%. Type in black.
Yeah, Google me.
Yeah, Google me. Literally,
black haircut taper.
Black haircut taper number 3.
Yeah, can you move up and down the rankings?
Maybe. You just gotta pump the numbers. You got to make sure that you're keeping the Google search.
Yeah,
you can move up the ranks.
Well, I got my last haircut, and the barber asked to take pictures to add on to his
really?
Hair, so.
Yeah. No thanks.
You would say no?
Yeah, because I just feel like typically when they do that, I don't know if yours did. Like, did you get the spray? Like, did they spray it all or try and artificially make it? Like, because sometimes they'll fill in your beard.
Yeah, they do
just
it
to
all.
make it. I don't like any of that. I don't like the sprays. I don't like the chalk.
See, I got
don't
a
like none of
cowlick,
it.
so I need it because I'm looking like a Tony Hawk ramp if I don't.
Can't do it. I just think sometimes it looks like way too. You can tell it's sprayed on sometimes, and I'm like, it's not for me.
And then
some people also it fades in a little bit better than others. Like some people, again, you can really tell the hard line of like, wow, your beard looks like it got threaded or something.
Yeah,
it's
and
like
then
a little bit too perfect.
And then we got to come in, and Carmichael Dave has to say something that's unnecessary and inappropriate.
Wow, that's a tight shirt you got on there.
Yeah.
Like,
wow, look at that haircut. No, this is we walk in for crosstalk. Wow, look at that haircut.
That's it.
Crumble cookies.
Yeah.
Let me show you this video.
Have you seen this?
African American Parliament. This search history
it's insane.
Is insane.
You're supposed to not look at those kind of things on your
and the big bosses are here. All right, let's get into De'Aaron Fox's career so far, Chris. As we know, last season was a good one, right? Obviously, there were some ups and downs, but he still had his highest points per game. His shoe dropped. His brand is growing as he is solely connected, or his shoe is dropping, I should say, as he is directly connected to Stephen Curry, one of the biggest stars in the history of the game. You add a DeMar DeRozan, so he has his legit number 2. I ask you the question, Chris, and you can say, hey, basically, there's still time, and we might not know this answer, but I want you to answer this one for me right now.
Okay.
Will we know whether or not De'Aaron Fox is an elite number 1 option by the end of this season, or will we still be wondering?
I think we'll have a really, really good idea. Like, we might not know definitely, like 100%, hey, De'Aaron is this quality, this exact quality. He can bring you to a second round, but I don't think he's good enough to lead you. I think that we will just get a better idea of, oh, yeah, okay, everything that we've seen, everything leading up to his to this point so far has shown us one thing, and this is either confirmation or maybe we need to go back to the drawing board because, yeah, like you said, De'Aaron's coming off a career year, points per game. I'd imagine he's probably not going to reach that number again this year just because DeMar is going to take points. Who knows? Maybe Keegan takes some points. Maybe Malik adds some more points to his total. Maybe Keon Ellis adds some points and takes away from De'Aaron. So I don't think the points per game will be as high as it was, but I think from a just pure, okay, we trust this guy. He knows who he is. And when push comes to shove, he wins us games. I feel like too many times last year and really in the past 2 years, obviously he won the clutch player of the year that first Beam Team season, but we haven't seen enough of De'Aaron Fox, saying my team's not going to lose today because De'Aaron Fox is on this team. Mm-hmm. And I don't see enough of, and I don't know if we'll see a lot of it this year with DeMar being there, but I want to see more of De'Aaron saying, this is my time. And especially down the clutch, this game's going to be decided by me, and not by me taking jump shots, but by me getting to the rim and actually doing the thing that makes me incredibly uniquely dangerous. And that's being an elite finisher at the rim, around the rim with his floater. So I think we're going to get a lot more of that De'Aaron Fox, that, when push comes to shove, it's going to be a lot of De'Aaron and DeRozan, but I just think it's going to be really efficient. And I think especially come playoff time, we saw him take that leap and be an even better player than he was in the regular season. I think the postseason is really where you're going to get that answer. And you're going to see, yes, De'Aaron Fox with help is definitely the type of guy that can be your best player as long as the supplemental pieces are there.
Yeah. And I think that's all well said. We'll know well, first of all, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with what you're saying. You got to get to the playoffs first. So sure. I do think that part of this will be answered.
Man, I think they are.
Okay.
I'm ready for it.
Okay. Well,
but I'm also more confident than I think a lot of others are.
And I'm confident too. I mean, I'm looking at that. Nate said earlier, 4 would be nice. I'll take 5. I will gladly take 5 and go from there. One of these things, like we talk about with these other teams outside of Minnesota and OKC, somebody is going to fall back. We don't know how many teams are going to fall back, but somebody is going to fall back. And I think that's where the Kings are going to take care of business with one De'Aaron Fox, DeMar DeRozan, and the crew. But with that being said, in order to take advantage, I do think we're going to get this answer. Obviously, during the playoffs is where you really make a stance on the game. But I do think throughout the season as well, to your point, you were big on this, and I don't know if maybe it changes bringing in DeRozan, but when you look at some of the guys that are in that upper echelon, they all have secondary scores too, and they all have pretty darn good offenses, and that doesn't stop them from putting up some ridiculous points per game. So, and I know this offense is a little bit different. There's not as much ISO, but I'm looking at De'Aaron Fox to make a move, man. This is your 8th season in the league. Okay. And at what point are we going to know just what level you're going to be at? So to answer my own question, I would say that the answer is yes. I think that by the end of this season, we will know whether or not De'Aaron Fox can be an elite number 1. I just think it's that simple. I think that you could maybe make the argument, give him one more year. You give him one more year, you're looking at dang near a decade in the game here. And obviously these guys come in very young, so we understand all that. But I just think that some of the other guys, very similar to the quarterback position, these guys come in, and a lot of them, there are some slow burns, but how many slow burns end up being dudes, right? If Geno Smith is the story, cool. What has Geno Smith done? Well, what has he done? He made up for, right, being somewhat of a bust or whatever it is, or the Sam Darnolds. Those are good stories as far as or Baker Mayfield being legit quarterbacks, but how many guys that are slow burns like that end up being the dude, right? It just doesn't typically happen. So for De'Aaron to be in his 8th year, DeMar DeRozan is 35 years old. So DeMar DeRozan is 35. Keegan, maybe he makes the leap, but I'm still seeing this as a De'Aaron heavy team, and a team where De'Aaron can't. And it's not all about scoring. Don't get me wrong. You got to win and you got to score in the right spots. But I do think that at the end of the season, we'll say, maybe Chris, maybe, okay, let's see it another year. But I feel like I'm more so leaning towards we'll be able to sit down, have this conversation, whenever the Kings' last game is, hopefully after a parade, and say, De'Aaron Fox either is or isn't an elite number 1. If it's after a parade, obviously he is. But if it isn't, and if it's a one and done in the playoffs, or if they don't even make the playoffs, I feel like we're going to have some uncomfortable conversations.
So I'm looking here at a list. CBS.com just released a list yesterday, actually, of their top 100 players. They have De'Aaron as number 27. Would our conversation just essentially be De'Aaron cracking the top 20?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a safe one.
Assuming all 20 would be considered elite.
I would think so. I mean, some of the names that are positioned in front of him here, like let's see here, Zion Williamson is sitting at 20. I'm sorry, is sitting at 21. Paul George at 20. Jimmy Butler 22. Bam at 23. This is crazy. Yeah. Tyrese Maxey at 24. Kyrie at 25. Dame at 26. So you have Fox 27, Dame 26, Kyrie 25, Tyrese Maxey 24. So he's already grouped in front of, or I should say behind, 3 other point guards that you would imagine if he's going to be the guy that we're talking about right now. For step 1 is leapfrogging those 4 point guards in Dame, Kyrie, Tyrese Maxey. That already puts him at 23. Bam, Jimmy, Zion, Paul George. I would think that De'Aaron can at least be in the same category, right? It's okay to just say maybe he's not number 20, but he's in the same tier as all those other guys.
Yeah, I would look at, as far as the point guards are concerned, I would look at Tyrese Maxey and De'Aaron to kind of bump up and, hey, Kyrie. And that's another thing with the Mavs, right? Kyrie is not old, but he's no spring chicken.
Yeah.
So I would look at it, Kyrie and Dame, they're on the way down, whereas Tyrese and De'Aaron are on the way up, but Tyrese is even younger than De'Aaron, right? So De'Aaron, I mean, to me, I feel like it's just now or never with the situation. And he knows that, he can get that Supermax if he does get it done. 916 says only Dame and Kyrie are better than Fox. Fox can pass all those other guys. I think they were talking about the non-point guards.
The non-point guards.
I'm not convinced on either of the, I'm not big on Kyrie, and yes, that goes back to, maybe my Bay Area days, but I'm not big on Kyrie, and I think
De'Aaron's better than Maxey right now for what it's worth.
Maxey?
I think so, yeah. I think he's a better overall player than Tyrese Maxey. I think Tyrese Maxey is a great shooter, but Tyrese Maxey has only been the second best player on his team and never been asked to do what De'Aaron is doing. Like if Joel Embiid's not on Philly, I don't think Tyrese Maxey can necessarily hold them up in the same way that De'Aaron holds up the Kings.
Yeah, and I know where you're going here because he's not as small as Darius Garland, but he is one of those scoring guards that you can find throughout the league. I might be a little too high on Tyrese Maxey to be completely honest with you.
A lot of people love Tyrese. Yeah.
But I would be more worried about De'Aaron trying to pass Tyrese Maxey than I would be worried about De'Aaron trying to pass Kyrie because Kyrie's never been a 1.
Right. And they add Clay to that situation. I don't think Kyrie's going to be more involved.
And Dame, we got to see if Dame can stay healthy. He's, I think, the oldest of that bunch. So we got to see if Dame can stay healthy. And technically, he's the number 2 now because they're trying to make that, I don't know if it's a big duo or a big 3 with whatever's left of Chris Middleton and my guy, Bobby Portis. So, yeah, I think we'll have a lot of answers when this season is over and done with. We're also going to have some answers on whether or not Brock Purdy is worth $60 million with no Debo and with no CMC. You still have Kittle. You still have Ayuk. Chase Daniel of the facility on FS1 says the pressure is all on Brock, and it's time for him to prove that you are that dude. We play that audio for you when we return. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
Subscribe to Sacktown Sports on YouTube and watch the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross, Stiles and Watkins, and the Drive Guys. Live Monday through Friday from 6 to 6. Plus view archive shows and exclusive content.
Subscribe at youtube.com/Sacktown Sports.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave for American Energy Heating and Air with a question. Have you recently had a technician diagnose your HVAC system and you were a bit surprised at how much it cost? Or did something seem off about their quote? Because at American Energy, they take pride in giving you honest, straightforward solutions to get that system up and running. Have their qualified technicians come out and give you a free second opinion. It's free. You got nothing to lose but some dollars off of that original quote. They're making the uncomfortable comfortable. They've been doing it since 1981, serving the greater Sacramento area. A+ with the Better Business Bureau. That's why they keep having customers coming back for more and more and more. You can call them and set that appointment at 916-520-9990. That's 916-520-9990 or AmericanEnergyAir.com.
Call 916-520-9990 now.
The feet have a really big impact on how the rest of the body moves. The knees, the hips, the lower back especially. If the foot isn't properly aligned, all of these joints are going to function incorrectly. That results in a lot of muscle tension and chronic pain. What I really like about the Good Feet system is that the right arch supports can put the foot in its proper alignment. So all the joints up the rest of the body will be aligned properly as well. And when the body's aligned, we can reduce the risk of injury and chronic pain.
Come to the Good Feet store now for a free fitting and test walk.
Mega Chevy saves you $13,000 off MSRP on every new half-ton Silverado LTZ in stock after rebates. All of them.
Silverado savings spectacular now at MegaChevy.com. Together, let's drive.
See dealer for details. Ends 9/30/24.
Increase leads and get more customers. We create tailored digital marketing strategies that deliver results. On your next campaign, aim higher. Go to aimyourdigital.com and get started today. aimyourdigital.com.
Sacktown Sports. Call or text at 916-339-1140.
No CMC. There was a problem. No Debo. Will there still be a problem as the Niners again probably face the one team dealing with more injuries than them and possibly the most injuries in an injury-riddled season so far in the Los Angeles Rams. It's Tuesday, so it's Rams week now, and the Niners will not have Debo. They will not have Christian McCaffrey. They will have Minnie Marchand and Jordan Mason. We have some sound from Dante Whitner agreeing with what I had to say about Jordan Mason. We'll get into that a little bit later. They will have George Kittle, who is probably going to wear a gold jacket. They will have Brandon Ayuk. They will have Trent Williams. And a lot of people, Chris, are saying that if you're going to pay somebody, if you look at the Rams and the injuries that they're dealing with, and you're talking about somebody being elite, right? And you want to hold him in the same conversations as maybe not Patrick Mahomes, but the Joe Burrows and guys like that, you're going up against a team in the Rams, and you know there are going to be a ton of Niner fans down there. You still have Brandon Ayuk, who, much to Chris' chagrin, is now a $30 million receiver, right?
Boy, you better earn it this week.
You still have George Kittle. You just paid Jawan Jennings. You got Kyle Juszczyk. A lot of people are saying, and we'll look at the line a little bit later in the season or in the week, because there's no point in looking at it now. But a lot of people are saying Brock should still go to work. There's no pass here for Brock. You don't have to beat the brakes off the Rams. But this is still a game that you should probably, and the defense is pretty darn healthy. You might get Hufanga back. This is a game that you need to take care of business if you're the Niners, even with these guys out. Fair, or maybe not as fair, Chris. Not foul, but maybe not that fair.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that the Rams are just equally, if not more, injured definitely makes it fair, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if the Rams were at full strength, maybe it would be a little bit unfair. And for what it's worth, Alan, you don't want to look at it, but you might want to, because what do you think the spread is? I mean, as we know, two very injured teams, both sides missing receiver.
Are they giving too much to the? What is it like?
We'll see.
What is it like 5.5 for the Niners?
Crazy. That'd be crazy. What if I told you it's 7? The Niners are favored by 7 points right now in LA. Now we know LA, that building can look very red.
I'm going back to Tahoe.
That 7-point spread as it stands right now.
Wow. That's a lot.
I mean, the Rams are 0-2.
And I'm not saying the Niners won't win.
That deserves a Jimmy Whoa.
And I'm not saying the Niners won't win, but 7 is
that's a lot of faith. I believe, looking at it here, the only other line I'm seeing that's higher is the Monday Night Football, which it does look like we have 2 Monday Night Football games this week for some reason.
Nice.
We have, I don't know why. There's 2 games on Monday. There's Jags, Bills, Commanders, Bengals. The Bengals are favored by 7.5 as currently.
Well, I also don't know who Matt Stafford's going to throw to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, right. It's going to be Wan'Dale Robinson and somebody else who I'm trying to remember. I was looking at the fantasy waiver wire earlier today. Can't remember. They still have Kyron Williams, which is big for them for sure. Maybe we see some Blake Corum this week as well. A lot of hype around him post-draft. But, yeah, I mean, I think the Niners still should win. Jordan Mason's looked to be a very fine backup and really shouldn't miss much in the run game when it comes to that. I think the pass game's obviously going to be the thing that suffers the most. But, again, this is what Brandon Ayuk's for, right? Mm-hmm. This is what the $30 million, this is where you stake your claim as deserving of that money, because when there's no other targets out there, well, let me tell you, you still have a $30 million guy out there who's supposed to be able to still be productive. And it's not just on his shoulders. It's not just on Brock's shoulders to have a good game, but it's more so to justify, okay, yeah, we can feel good moving forward that we have spent the money on the right people. And I think, obviously this in a weird way, do you think that this could potentially, and I emphasis on potentially, have some implications for Brock's contract? Like if this game doesn't go well let's just go worst case scenario. This game doesn't go well at all. Niners can barely move the ball in the pass game. Brock, we'll say, throws 2 interceptions and no touchdowns. Do we think that maybe this game would be pointed back to later in the year to say, look, this is why we can't give you the $60 million, is because, frankly, we need you to perform like the same way Chris is giving shtick for Ayuk for not performing. We can't pay you $60 million and then not have you perform like you should when you don't have the talent out there.
To be completely honest with you, and I'm just thinking about this off the top of my head, which I know you love when we go into these things. By the way, the wide receivers, Tyler Johnson for the Rams, Tyler Johnson, DeMarcus Robinson, tight end Colby Parkinson. So that is who.
There was another name. I can't remember what that was.
Jordan Whittington?
Yes.
Yes. And, of course, Tutu Atwell, best name
Tutu
in the game. So those are the guys that Matthew Stafford will be throwing to. Just wanted to.
Could be you and me.
Could be, yes. Who he played for.
Difference.
And he's still second in passing yards.
That's right.
The top 2 passing yard quarterbacks in the NFL.
This is a surgeon. But getting back to what I was going to say as far as Brock Purdy is concerned, I'm going to be honest with you, Chris. This feels like a win-win for the Niners. Because if Brock Purdy just wets the bed, you can kiss $60 million goodbye. If Brock Purdy balls out, and in part, let's not forget that offensive line for the Rams. Let's say Fred Warner goes crazy again, Nick Bosa goes crazy, and it's just still even if Brock balls out, that the Niners will probably pick off Matt Stafford at some point. The Niners, they just do their thing, their defense does, against the Rams, and at the very least, they are bend, don't break. So even if he balls out, you're going to sit there and say, well, the spread was 7. Matthew Stafford was throwing to dudes you got to Google, along with my buddy Black Hair Taper.
Yeah.
So there's no way you can leave this game. There's no way Brock can leave this game saying that he's worthy of $60 million. Not to me, because of the Rams being down. They'd have to. Okay, fine. You put up a Derek Carr 40 burger or something like that.
It's crazy. It's crazy to describe it as a Derek Carr.
Yes, you play like Derek Carr, and maybe we'll talk about it. But yeah, and the way that the Niners operate, if Jordan Mason goes crazy again, I don't see a path for Brock to easily take advantage of this situation. But I do see a path for the Niners to say, look what we did, whether we win or lose. Brock, you're not worth $60 million. You're not worth $60 million because let me ask you this question. George Kittle, what Jordan Mason has become, Ayuk, Jawan Jennings, even without CMC and Debo, would you say that skill position group is better than, I don't know,
probably half,
right?
Yeah,
it's a better.
I wouldn't say it's top 10.
It's a better half. So if I'm paying you $60 million, you should be able to beat a downtrodden Rams team with a skill position group that is better than half the league. That's how I see it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, and I think that's why it's still 7, right? Like it's not a close spread. It's not, again, the Rams are at home, so you can even maybe say that spread is really like 9 points because. You get the little bump for being the home team there. So, Vegas, that is, clearly still thinks everything you just said, that's enough talent for the Niners to be able to do it. And also, kind of like you said as well, they've been doing it on the defensive end as well. This is the thing that makes the Niners so tough is that, yeah, let's say their offense isn't 100% to where we typically see it, which it's just not going to be because of all the injuries. That's what's made them a complete team. Their defense is still top 5 every single year. And I think that's going to be the thing that makes this game comfortable for the Niners, is that they know that, hey, you still have that playmaker Fred Warner on the other side. You still have Nick Bosa, who's going to make it hell on Matt Stafford all night long. And you have still some good corners as well.
Yeah,
that
you got
can lock down those guys.
Ward,
yeah.
you got Diamador Lenore going up against these Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua.
100%. Like it should be a complete lockdown game for the Niners defense. And that in itself should make it, I'll take one of your phrases. It should make it a game where the Niners stay on schedule, right? There should be no excuse for the Niners to not just run the ball as much as they can, try and make things as easy as Brock as possible. And really, frankly, lean on your defense. I think that offense has definitely saved that team more than enough times throughout the years. I think it's okay to kind of lean on your defense a little bit this week and say, we need you guys to hold the Rams under. I mean, if you hold them under 20, I would guess that should be a good path to victory for these guys, because the Niners still will be able to move the ball. You still have, let's not forget Jake Moody, who was 6 of 6 in week 1. He's looking dialed in. So I think it should still be a fairly easy game for the Niners. But yeah, I mean, without a doubt, there's going to be a lot of eyes on Brock and Brandon to step up when not everybody's there.
We hear from Chase Daniel of the facility, former NFL quarterback, when we return his thoughts on Brock coming up next. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
The only place you'll find De'Aaron Fox is Sacktown Sports.
Spins away from the defender, in the paint, soft floater. That's a great play by De'Aaron Fox.
Hey Sacramento, it's De'Aaron Fox, and you're listening to the home of the Sacramento Kings, Sacktown Sports.
Your local sports leader.
I didn't ask to be thrown in the streets with nowhere to go. I didn't think I'd survive. But I did ask for help, and Covenant House was there for me.
1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year. For these kids who didn't ask to be put in this unthinkable situation, Covenant House is there.
Covenant House helped me break the cycle of homelessness in my family. They gave me the love that I needed.
Over 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed tonight. When youth who are experiencing homelessness have a hot meal, a safe place to sleep, medical care, and love, they can overcome heartbreaking challenges and have a brighter future.
They just really genuinely just wanted to help me succeed, and I'm succeeding. I'm a speaker, I'm an author. Covenant House really helped me and really helped mold me into the woman I am today.
If you or someone you love is asking for help, go to safeplacetosleep.org today.
It's not hard to be a mom. It's hard to be a good mom. It's easy to be a bad mom. That's so easy. But to be a good mom is hard. To be a bad mom, that's as easy as being a great dad. That's...
Nikki Glazer, Alive and Unwell Tour. Friday, September 20th. The venue at Thunder Valley. Tickets on sale now. For tickets, visit ThunderValleyResort.com. She's alive and unwell. Don't miss Nikki Glazer.
Thank you. Good night.
Sacramento Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. They believe it's all about people and choices. Their goal is to find the car that fits your lifestyle. With their huge inventory of models, they've got the right car and, more importantly, at the right price every time. Experience for yourself why their customers drive away smiling. Discover the difference, because it's not just about the car, it's also about the people. Experience the Sacramento Dodge Jeep and Chrysler difference off Business 80 next to Hagen Oaks, or you can find them online, SacSuperstore.com.
The PGA club fitters at the Hagen Oaks Player Performance Studio know that golf should be fun. They also know that players of all abilities will hit the ball farther and straighter, play better golf, shoot lower scores, and have more fun if they get fitted before they purchase golf clubs. Hagen Oaks delivers the same technology and major brands used to fit PGA and LPGA professionals. See how the game can be even more fun. Hagen Oaks Player Performance Studio fittings are available 7 days a week. Make yours today by calling 916-808-2531. That's 808-2531.
KHTKAM HD1 Sacramento, KYMX HD2 Sacramento. From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios.
This is Sacktown Sports. Live and local.
This is Sacktown Sports.
About 1 hour away from these Aggie Up tickets. UC Davis football taking on Utah Tech, family 4-pack. So we're gonna peel the curtain back a little bit here. And Kyle Ledbetter behind the glass, hanging out with Nate. Shout out to Kyle Ledbetter, great guy. And we have a situation here. So Carmichael Dave has been talking about it with the big bosses. And I think that this is interesting, guys, because I don't think anybody from my family's listening. We actually had a situation with just how you handle food, right? How you handle food in groups and what is...
You're talking about decision making, right? How much you should eat and things like that.
How much you should eat. And as we are the midday show, 10 a.m., 2 p.m., we miss out on a lot, right? We miss out on certain events that they have or that we have as a company. We miss out on a lot of this stuff. So Nate comes up, right? Big bosses are around and we're getting food, right? Or the building is getting food catered. Now, obviously, it's coming probably right now. And we are doing the show. So if you are an account executive or somebody like that, whose responsibility is it to say, hey, there's some guys up there working their tails off, and the other shows as well that we have here at Bonneville during this hour. Hey, let's make sure that there's food for them.
Well,
whose job is that? Or is it, hey, tough cookies? It is what it is.
It's no one's job. It's somewhere in between. But Frank did offer earlier to get us, to get me bagels, not us. I was like, Frank, don't worry about it. I'll
Raider
just go
Frank?
get it. No, our Frankie Carticelli.
Oh, Frankie.
Yeah, he offered. So he's one of us though, so it's a little different, I guess. But
yeah,
I don't think it's anyone's job, but it would be nice,
right? I guess what we're saying is you're allowed to, because Chris has seen, look, I'll pile up my plate because I know I'm not going to be able to come back, right? This is it. We'll sometimes we'll scurry down there and we'll grab some food.
I'm definitely doing that.
But if you are someone that, you're at the desk and you can just come back whenever, should you, Stiles and Watkins, Nate, they didn't get to eat yet. I'm not gonna get seconds. Let's make sure they get food. Or is it just dog eat dog world?
Yeah, it's dog eat dog. I mean,
Yeah.
when it comes to an office building,
And you know what?
look how many sponsors
If I
we
were
have.
on the other side, I'd do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even thinking
They,
about us.
they're not. Yeah, I mean, look how many sponsors we have. They're clearly not thinking too much about us.
Okay, there's way too many people in the building to make those kind of jokes.
As we get back into the conversation, let's hear from Chase Daniel, who says the pressure is all on Brock to get this taken care of.
You thinking about it, huh?
because I mean, it's difficult for me a little bit because I think it's a bad game, but it can turn into a bad sign.
Elaborate.
Well, Deebo Samuel out, for a long time. CMC out, IR. The 49ers are 0-3 with Brock Purdy at quarterback when Deebo Samuel does not play. He's a secret sauce when it comes to that. He had 10 targets. He had 110 yards last game. He was really watching the film and the all-22. He was the only guy our guy Brock Purdy was looking at. Brandon Ayuk is not all the way back. I don't know what you see, just conditioning standpoint.
I've been saying that from the get-go.
And it's tough for a receiver to miss. You can't sit out. But at the end of the day, the only reason that it will or will not turn into a bad sign is the guy under center, and that's Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy, you've been talked about, and I'm a big fan of Brock Purdy. You've been talked about your entire career. Is he a system guy, or can he be a quarterback like a Josh Allen or like a Lamar or like a Patrick? Can you put the team on your back, and can you do something with it? Can you facilitate a loaded roster around you, and just do you win if things go right? Do you win if Kyle Shanahan gives you the perfect play? Or are you going to take it into your own hands? Are you going to – all you have is Brandon Ayuk. And George Kittle was he got an IV. He missed the game. You have Jordan Mason. You don't have your guys. Trent Williams even himself said he's 85% back. At the end of the day, can you, Brock Purdy, do what everyone thinks you can't do? Because most people out there think this is Kyle Shanahan's system. I put the onus on you for the next 4 or 5 games to see if you can get some wins. And their schedule lines up well. At the end of the day, Brock Purdy, you play well, the 49ers will win.
So I want to revise what I said last segment just a little bit because basically I was saying that I don't see how Brock can prove that he's worth $60 million even in this situation. I guess it would be week to week. I think specifically in this game with the Rams being down so bad, Brock can play well. The Niners can win, and I still think that there could be some naysayers out there. I think that's kind of the issue, Chris. I mean, I guess we'll find out what the Patriots are next week. They got the Jets. So let's say the Patriots take the Jets to task or even beat the Jets, right? Now we're looking at, okay, Brock, you beat the Rams even though they were down bad, and then he plays well against the Patriots, who the Patriots have now at that point would have beaten the Bengals and the Jets, and we would have made us a bit confused as to who they are. But then if you beat the Rams and then you beat the Patriots, and obviously we'll see who's next, or if Debo is back at that point, then those are the two that for sure Debo won't be in. Then at that point, I think that we could say, okay, it was a 2-game kind of slate. The Rams were down. The Patriots are better than people thought, and Brock looked good. I think he has really shed from that game system role because he did it without two dudes, and you're not doing it with even if they beat the Rams, they have a better situation than the Rams, but it still isn't elite like what Brock has played with for majority of his career. So I don't think he can prove it in one game, the 60 mil, but I do think it's possible he could prove it in 2.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the Patriots, even still, like, they are probably viewed as like one of the worst teams in the NFL.
What
so
if
I
they
don't know
beat
how
the
much.
Jets?
I mean, even then, still roster-wise, it feels like they're one of the least talented teams in the NFL when it comes to just the on-paper stuff. And, I don't know if that would – I think he can't – I mean, they're going to use it as justification regardless. And, frankly, I do wonder, kind of like you did say initially a little bit, like I kind of wonder if the $60 million is already signed, like if it's already decided, right? Like I wonder if, even if he does perform poorly – is that really going to change the Niners' opinion on this? Or is this just something that, frankly, we're at the point in this build where they have to do it anyways? Like, if you get into a negotiation with Brock and it goes into training camp, much like these other ones have, and maybe you don't get a deal done, or maybe you end up upsetting Brock. I just feel like it's not worth it. I feel like the Niners have already kind of made their bed with having Brock be their guy, unless they're going to, and there's no signs of it, there's no reason to do it, but unless they're just going to full off pivot, I would think that they kind of have already spiritually tied their wagon to Brock Purdy in his future. So I don't know if anything can even really impact if he makes $60 million. I do wonder, though, like, we've seen before Brock, before Jimmy, them lean into the system, right? I mean, the Nick Mullins years, the CJ Beathard look great in this system, all that stuff. Now that they don't really have the talent, now that they are a little bit more so like those earlier Shanahan teams than the ones that we've seen here recently, could we maybe see them kind of lean back into, hey, Brock, just be a system quarterback. Like, with this offense can hum with Nick Mullins at the helm, underneath center, like, we don't really need you to be spectacular. We just kind of need you to run the offense. And again, let the defense take over and just get to 20 points and win the game. We don't need you to have this be the big prove it game. We don't need you to go out there and do everything that we really just killed Jalen Hurts for doing earlier. We just need you to go complete passes, give the ball to Brandon Ayuk, give the ball to Juwan Jennings, get the ball to George Kittle, and let the offense do the work. We don't need you to go out there and shine. So I do wonder if maybe this is a week where we see the Niners play a little bit, not necessarily conservative, but just kind of lean more into Kyle Shanahan and let almost Kyle win the game offensively instead of putting the ball in Brock's hands and say, go be a spectacular individual and win us the game.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because yesterday TC called in and he brought up Kyle Shanahan trying to turn Brock into one of his robots,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
Which I don't think we didn't really discuss that part of TC's call. But then I go on social media and I'm seeing people say that a lot of people a lot of people feel like Kyle Shanahan raises floors on QBs, but gives them a ceiling. Okay. And this guy this person, I should say, on social media, Lobs All Day, who is one of the bigger Niners accounts, they say at some point, Purdy needs to lose the Mr. Nice Guy, Mr. Follow Orders, and take control of the offense and play with instincts rather than how Kyle wants him to play as a computer, especially when Kyle's plays are not working. You want the big contract, Purdy? ? Take over. The last part was funny to me because, well, if you want the big contract, doesn't Kyle want? If you fall in line. But I understand basically what he's saying.
It's more if you want the respect.
Yes, it's devil on one shoulder, angel on the other, and I want to show people that I'm a dude.
Yeah.
You know what? It's funny. If you follow Kyle's orders, you might win, you might lose, but they could argue that you're not worth $60 million. If you don't follow Kyle's orders and you hit, going back to, roulette or whatever the case may be, then you're definitely worth that money.
Yeah.
So that's something that Purdy has to decide. That Lions game, he looked like $60 million because of what he did on his own.
The extensions.
He followed that game plan. They probably lose Kyle Shanahan's game plan. Kyle Shanahan, people can call him an offensive genius and things like that. He ain't perfect, and we've seen it. That's why they don't have the big one. We want the ball. Remember that in overtime, and that was supposed to be the plan. Give me a break. So, yeah, I thought it was interesting the end of that statement in you want the big contract, take over. It's a line. Life is about balance. Life is about not stepping over the line as we try not to do on this show and people try not to do in life. But, yeah, a lot of people, Chris, saying that, funny enough, all of a sudden, people thinking that Kyle Shanahan, you have outsiders that feel like Kyle Shanahan built Brock Purdy, and you have Niners fans feeling like Kyle Shanahan might actually be holding Brock Purdy back.
Yeah, and I like you said, I do think it's a good balance of both, and I think Brock really last week. I mean, again, in the Minnesota game, there was a couple times where Brock made plays happen. Like again, that Debo sideline tiptoe ball was Brock escaping a pressure, getting out, rolling out, throwing clear across his body to the sideline, and making a play that just wasn't there. I think that's kind of where, maybe to what the person on socials is talking about, maybe that's more where Brock needs to do what that person's saying. I don't think he needs to live outside of the structure, though. I mean, the structure is what got him there. It's what's made them. It's the foundation of what they are, right? And I don't think you should try and divert away from that because, again, that's kind of what we talk about what I was talking about earlier when it comes to Jalen Hurts. Feels like he tries to make the superstar, hey, this game is going to be won and people are going to talk about me winning the game for my team. And what happened? He didn't end up winning the game. Now, it wasn't his fault exactly, but I'm more so just using that as the point to say, I don't see there being anything wrong with Brock falling into structure, especially when we're just talking about a game. I'm not talking about him getting through a playoff game, getting through a Super Bowl, an entire season. Just while your players are down, maybe you just let the system do its work. And Brock, no one's been better at doing that than Brock. And I think Brock is that perfect balance of exactly what is being described. Of he does follow what Kyle wants him to do, but then he also does do things outside of structure. And I think that's what's made Brock so perfect. It's what's made him different than guys like, besides missing wide open receivers, it's what's made him different than guys like Jimmy and every other quarterback that they've tried to put in here. Is Brock just really knows when it is time to put his stamp on it and when it's just time to put the ball where coach said to put the ball.
Coming up next, we get into, and by the way, 916 says Kyle's ego won't do that. He has been way too pass happy. That is from Esteban.
It is really funny that some Niner fans out there's a large portion, I will say, that think Kyle Shanahan is like an evil, like he is an evil person. He is an evil genius almost.
Well, he's an egomaniac.
This guy is an egomaniac, which again, I do also joke, and I think he does have a big ego, but you would think by this, people think Kyle Shanahan's Deion Sanders out here.
You know what? And we're running out of time. We'll get to it on the other side, but I am curious, and Nate wants you to hop in on this from the Niners fan perspective. Yeah, how much do fans like Kyle Shanahan, period? Right?
I mean, the more and more he loses, I think the less and less that people are here for the pageantry of Kyle Shanahan's great, though. And I think the more they lose, the less people want to hear he's great. He's great. Anybody would love to have him. People say, well, yeah, we have him, and we're not too happy.
Here's a term I've never said before.
Thrilled, not 100%.
Here's a term I've never said before. They lose at a high level.
They sure do.
They lose at a high level. Let's get into this Kyle Shanahan conversation also. Don't worry. We said not just Kay Adams, but Devontae Adams on every Tuesday. We got Devontae Adams talking about Mustache Minshew with the Raiders. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
The NFL's leading rusher plays here.
The handoff to McCaffrey, walks in the end zone. Handoff to McCaffrey, takes it right down to the goal line. He does his thing again. McCaffrey goes in motion right. Backwards pass led by Juszczyk. A block there. Hurdles a man. 10-5. Touchdown! CMC!
You can hear all of Christian McCaffrey's touchdowns on your home for 49ers football. Sacktown Sports.
Hi, this is Greg Papa. Disasters hit every day. If your home, business, or building has suffered from any disaster, SunPoint Public Adjusters can help. SunPoint prepares, presents, and negotiates your claim with the insurance company, working only for you, making sure you get everything you're entitled to and letting your focus be on what's most important, your family or your business. Call SunPoint today at 888-247-7865 or contact us at sunpoint.us. SunPoint Public Adjusters, the gold standard in public adjusting.
License number 2N14884.
Model year-end pricing is back at Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop.
During the model year-end event, lower interest rates at Folsom Lake Honda make lower payments. It's no wonder why Folsom Lake Honda is your one-stop Honda shop. Come in today or check out our entire inventory online at folsomlakehonda.com.
Get an instant cash offer for your trade at folsomlakehonda.com. We'll buy your car whether you buy from us or not. Folsom Lake Honda is your one-stop Honda shop.
Folsom Lake Honda. Go to folsomlakehonda.com.
Your one-stop Honda shop.
Sacktown Sports.
Check us out on YouTube. Search Sacktown Sports and subscribe.
Esteban wants the world to know who sent in the Kyle's ego text. Esteban is not a Niners fan. From the 408, next week needs to be a George Kittle game. You want to get paid and be the best tight end. Show up when we need you. Yeah, George Kittle, man.
He did against the Vikings.
He did.
He looked awesome.
Got to do it again. Yeah. Speaking of,
but that's not how this team has ever worked. It's never been
this team is not. I mean, but you're down CMC. It's different now. You're down CMC and Debo.
Sure. But then there's still Juwan Jennings and I guess Ayuk. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I just don't see Kittle going off again this week.
Yeah, it's a just win kind of week.
Yeah.
It's really just doesn't really matter. Like, I mean, even I just felt guilty. Like I was saying Brandon Ayuk needs to go crazy and justify the $30 million, but in reality, it's just win the game.
But I feel like there can be two storylines. I think that
it'll be a storyline.
I think he does.
Yeah,
I think
frankly,
he does.
I think, but that could be a separate thing in terms of like, yeah, there might be a storyline that comes out, but the reality of the situation is just like, just survive. Really, I mean, that's really what it is. You can do it however you want. It can look pretty, and yeah, people can be upset about how it's done, but what's important is them winning the games.
I just have to, Chris, for 2 days in a row, you've mentioned this in passing really quickly, and I just kind of have to refute it. You've been saying Nick Mullins had the offense humming with the Niners, right?
Sure. I mean, more just he was a quarterback that, it wasn't absolutely terrible.
Okay. I have to disagree. I think he did get benched for CJ Beathard towards the end. He was like a 1-for-1. I have the stats here, like a 1-for-1 interception ratio. I think those two were absolutely horrible. I think it does take a certain level to operate in that offense.
But did the Niners not have success that year? Relative success that year?
Which in 2018 and 2020?
Yeah, I mean, more just so that the offense didn't look nearly as terrible as what it probably a lot of people thought it would. That's more my point.
The defense was atrocious and the defense god awful until 2019 when Richard Sherman showed up. So I know that's why they lost some games. And I know when they traded for Jimmy in 2018, he came in and won five in a row right away. So I just, to say Nick Mullins was confident enough to do it, I don't think he was. I think there is a floor when it comes to quarterbacks in this offense.
I specifically do remember there was a stint, right? It might not have been long, but there was a stint where Nick Mullins did play well. I think it was short-lived.
He came in when Beathard was out against the Raiders. I'm sure you remember that game. Mm-hmm. He comes in as the third string guy, and I believe the
streets were calling him Money Mullins.
Yeah, the first play of the game, he throws a touchdown to Kittle. This is 6 years ago at this point.
That's crazy.
But so yeah, sure, there was some excitement and hope, and little did you know, if you're a Niners fan, that's kind of a preview for what was going to happen with Brock Purdy, 4 or 5 years later. But Nick Mullins is bad.
He was 3-5.
Yeah,
he was 3-5. Yeah. 64% completion percentage.
Yeah,
and that's over essentially 2 seasons. He was with the Niners in 2019, but he didn't play.
Well, somebody who has been balling out lately, guys, and look, you're going to say the magic words. Gardner Minshew, he is the only QB with over 250 passing yards in both games this season. The only one, Chris.
Yes.
The only one, Mustache Minshew. Now, he's a gunslinger, and that's what we like to see. The Adams, they were hanging out, Kay Adams and Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams had his hit on Up and Adams, and he had these things to say about one Mustache Minshew.
What did you say to Gardner?
I didn't say much to him in particular. I looked over to him after the pick. I let him kind of breathe and get his mind back right. And the defense was out on the field, and I looked over to him, and I just called his name and looked at him and smiled at him and just shook my head, saying basically, we're going to be all right. Don't worry about it. And, dude is one of the most mentally tough people I've been around, so I wasn't too much worried about him, but it is a tough position to be in and a tough position to play, quarterback. So we try to be there for him and make sure he knows that, we got his back. But most times he's already got a good hold of everything mentally. And we just got to be there to support him as much as we can.
By the way, you can't, if you are listening or even if you're watching the video, Devontae Adams in the clip, he looks to be in his man cave. He just has a bunch of different jerseys framed from jersey swaps. He's got Brandon Ayuk, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Randall Cobb, a bunch of different guys.
Odell. That's the Odell jersey.
Oh, it's the Odell jersey. It's the Odell jersey. So, yeah, good stuff there from Devontae Adams. And look, man, I really don't want hope, Chris. We talked about this yesterday with your Vikings. And you have some stats that we'll get into as far as the Raiders possibly having a Sam Darnold problem.
Andy Dalton.
Or Andy Dalton problem. The Niners had the Sam Darnold problem. And I'm really I don't want the hope yet. I got to see what happens this week. But Mustache Minshew, this is what he does. And we just talked about this when your boy went down, Anthony Richardson with the Colts. This is why the Raiders thought maybe we could do some things. Now, ultimately, do I think that Gardner Minshew is just a really nice Band-Aid, the expensive ones that you get in case you get a nice boo-boo? Yeah, I do. I don't think he's not the stitch, or he's not the solution moving forward, but it's possible. Anything is possible. They get squirrely because if you can beat the Broncos a couple times, that Chargers game obviously didn't look great, but if you can win some games, literally what we talked about, Chris, you win the games you're supposed to win, you win a couple games that you're not supposed to win, and then you're cooking. I know it seems simple, but that's what it is. They just won a game they're not supposed to win. Now they have to win. Against the Panthers, because that is a game where, there's just no excuses there.
Yeah, they have to win this weekend. You get a new quarterback in there for the other team. You have to be able to take advantage. You have to assume that the team that you've seen from the Panthers these first 2 weeks is not going to be the same team as this week 3, because, when you make a big substitution like taking out your quarterback and replacing that position, you have to assume that that's a message not just to Bryce Young, but to the entire team that what is going on is not acceptable. And if we are willing to make changes at the top, like the quarterback position, then everybody should feel a little bit uncomfortable. I think it's going to be a little bit of a tougher test this week than maybe what Raider fans are prepared for. But yeah, they have to be able to execute. They have to be able to win these games that they should. And yeah, like you said, they're going to have to, if they want to make legitimate playoff noise, they're going to have to try and beat you have to really take down the Broncos twice. You're going to have to beat the Chiefs or the Browns or the Bengals, the Dolphins, one of these really tough opponents that you have to face. The Raiders are going to have to do it. I don't know if Gardner Minshew is the guy that I would pick to go into those battles, but he's also somebody who is a gamer. You really saw it in the game on Sunday. He played pretty terribly the first half, and then second half looked like a completely different guy. It's just about, like you said with the Falcons to start the show today, you're going to let them hang around for long enough, and yeah, they'll click and things will start to go their way. So I think the Raiders, if you're the Raiders, you just have to lean on your defense and really hope that they can keep you in games long enough for that offense to be able to execute at a high level, because I still don't believe in them regardless of scoring 20-plus points.
Coming up next, we will have Chris give us that Andy Dalton stat that is pretty darn interesting, and not in a good way if you are a Raiders fan. We also hear from Dante Whitner, a.k.a. Dante Hittner, and talks about Jordan Mason being a mini Marshawn. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
What's the missing piece for the 49ers?
Which names will they add during free agency? Whether it's in season or off season, the coverage never stops. Get the latest 49ers news on Sacktown Sports at sacktownsports.com.
Last year's RV trip, we met a couple with the same bumper sticker. What are the odds?
Your cousin isn't a good storyteller.
He was a podiatrist, or was it a pharmacist? Huh, you don't say. Oh, I can't remember.
But she owns an RV protected by Progressive, and you don't. So until you get your own RV, her stories are the most interesting stories you've ever heard.
Wow, interesting.
And when you do get your own RV, save money by bundling it with your home, auto, or other vehicles with Progressive.
Oh, anesthesiologist. He was an anesthesiologist.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Let's bring the nail gun over here.
Jose stands tall atop his sustainable flooring company.
Totally. It's renewable and moisture resistant, but we have several green options too. Or we got some beautiful reclaimed oak.
But floored by his success, he needs to hire more installers.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Put our matching platform to work so you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
The last 6 Sacramento Rivercats games of the 25th anniversary season are packed with promotions and theme nights. Join us for Hispanic Heritage Night on September 17th, the Rivercats Golfer Hat Giveaway on September 20th, our inaugural Harry Potter Night on September 21st, and cap off the homestand with Fan Appreciation Day for the final game of the season on Sunday, September 22nd. Make your way to the ballpark for a farewell to the Rivercats of 2024. Visit rivercats.com to purchase tickets today.
Finally, an easy way to find home improvement contractors. Just visit subcontractorsunited.com and simplify your search for home services professionals. From cabinets to windows, roofing to plumbing, Subcontractors United is an easy, simple way to find and hire a home improvement contractor. And you never have to give up personal information. So no harassing phone calls like you get from those other websites. Subcontractorsunited.com is sponsored by D&D Cabinets and Savage Design.
It's not hard to be a mom. It's hard to be a good mom. It's easy to be a bad mom. That's so easy. But to be a good mom is hard. To be a bad mom, that's as easy as being a great dad. That's...
Nikki Glazer, Alive and Unwell Tour. Friday, September 20th. The venue at Thunder Valley. Tickets on sale now. For tickets, visit ThunderValleyResort.com. She's alive and unwell. Don't miss Nikki Glazer.
As a mom, I'd do anything to keep my child out of physical pain.
Dr. Pamela Maida is a board-certified orthopedic surgeon.
As a doctor, I know that growth spurts can cause pain in my child's feet, and that can affect their legs and back too.
Good Feet Youth Arch supports are designed to alleviate, even eliminate common pain.
Investing in youth arch supports for your child or teen is one of the best decisions you can make.
Come to the Good Feet store now for a free fitting and test walk.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave for American Energy Heating and Air with a question. Have you recently had a technician diagnose your HVAC system? and you were a bit surprised at how much it cost? Or did something seem off about their quote? Because at American Energy, they take pride in giving you honest, straightforward solutions to get that system up and running. Have their qualified technicians come out and give you a free second opinion. It's free. You got nothing to lose but some dollars off of that original quote. They're making the uncomfortable comfortable. They've been doing it since 1981, serving the greater Sacramento area. A+ with the Better Business Bureau. That's why they keep having customers coming back for more and more and more. You can call them and set that appointment at 916-520-9990. That's 916-520-9990 or AmericanEnergyAir.com.
Call 916-520-9990 now.
Sacramento, Dirk Bentley's coming to town.
Getting drunk on a plane.
For his only show in California this year, Saturday, September 28th at Heart Health Park for Country in the Park 2.
What was I thinking?
And he's bringing some friends. Parmalee.
I want to close your eyes for this.
Tyler Rich.
Be the difference.
Dasha. And more. Saturday, September 28th at Heart Health Park. Get your tickets today before they're sold out at CITPFest.com.
Brought to you by the California Army National Guard and Red's Pizzeria and Tap House.
Sacktown Sports. Call or text at 916-339-1140.
All right, Chris. Gonna hear from Dante Whitner of NBC Sports Bay Area on Jordan Mason. But first, you had a Andy Dalton problem the Raiders may have.
Yeah, not great. The Red Rifle, Andy Dalton. We all know him. I don't think many people love him. In his 15-year career so far, Andy Dalton has started 3 games versus the Raiders, the Silver and Black, winning every single contest so far against the Raiders. The former second-round pick has completed 67% of his passes in those games, tossing 7 touchdowns and a whopping 0 interceptions. He has a passer rating of 114.2 versus Las Vegas. His last start against the Raiders came in 2022 as a member of the Saints. Dalton in that game finished 22 of 30, 73% completion, threw for 229 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 24-0 victory over the Las Vegas Raiders.
Forgot about Andy Dalton's
there you go.
Saints stint.
Yeah. There you go. There you have it.
You know, records were meant to be broken.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. And I mean, that Panthers team has definitely had some issues in the past with their quarterback. So,
you know,
might just be a team problem.
Well, and I think that's what a lot of people will hear from Mel Kiper during the top stories at the top of the hour, because that's the big conversation with the Panthers right now. Is the team just really bad, or is it Bryce Young? The answer is probably a little bit of both.
Yeah, it's a Jets thing.
But everyone's sending out the tape, right? And you can clip and make things look however you want. But it does seem as if the Panthers, there are opportunities that Bryce Young is missing.
Sure.
So I'm just saying that to say, if Andy Dalton, being a veteran quarterback, does not miss on those opportunities, it's possible that the Raiders could have a tougher game on their hands than a lot of people anticipate. Maybe if you're on that side, if you are on the side of the Panthers are just bad and Bryce Young is just kind of a product of the trash that is being put on the field, then that could be part of it too. But it definitely isn't something I like reading. Especially,
for sure.
I just get worried when teams just get too hype. The Raiders, this is just classic over the last decade or so when they start to get a little bit of hub.
Oh, it's not even just a Raider thing, right?
It's not just a Raider thing.
I am very familiar with it from the Kings side of things.
Yeah. You know what? As far as it could, I don't know if this is more fraud watch or letdown watch. When we go through the slate on Friday, we should discuss who is on letdown watch, because some of these teams that started off 2-0 or had a game that they really had no business winning. Yeah. Right. They could be on letdown watch as far as, hey, you're just a little bit too hype right now. I think the Bucks and some teams like that, the Saints, could be in that situation. It's not great, Chris.
Yeah. No, and I have these numbers too. The points for the Panthers in their last 10 games. We know the Raiders defense is very, very highly thought of. The Panthers in their last 10 football games here. You have this past week with 3, week before that, 10. Then you had 0-0. And then this is going back to last season. They had a 30-point game. That was a loss. However, they get a win, scoring 9 points the week before that, then 6, then 18, then 10, and then 10. So they've only put up above 18 points once over the past 10 weeks. And only over 10 points twice in the past 10 weeks. So, Raiders defense, if they're and they've looked incredibly legitimate for sure, but if they're going to hold that spot as an elite defense, I definitely think holding the Panthers to pretty much what we've seen them be for pretty much a season now. I think that goes a long way.
Huge in terms of how people will view Antonio Pierce after a game like this. You win a game, it's Raiders, and everyone's having a good time. Can you make sure that your team is ready and fight through what could be a letdown? I think this is a huge, as funny as it is, because the Raiders will be favored, and and they should be, as funny as it is because the Panthers aren't good.
Spread?
It's isn't it in Carolina?
I know, it's the home opener for the Raiders.
Oh, okay. I don't know if I feel better or worse. I think I feel better. I'm gonna get you have it up.
Yes.
I don't like that face you just made.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say, oh no, what is it? Raiders by 6.
Really good. Raiders by 5.5. Feels like it should. Again, if the Niners spread is -7. The Bengals versus Commanders. Bengals are 0-2, 1-1 Commanders. Bengals are favored by 7.5. So I think that's Vegas essentially saying, yeah, we see the letdown game possibly ahead as well.
Yeah.
Because the Panthers have gotten whopped in both of these games. They're 47-10 and then 26-3.
They're going to win a game eventually. You just can't let it. It's like the Pistons. You just can't let it be you. That's really all that is. You just cannot let it be you. And this is Antonio Pierce, because that's the same thing, right? Antonio Pierce
is a circled game
as far as the schemes and the Nick Siriannis or the Dan Campbells of the world. Okay, you're more of a culture guy. Make sure the culture is right, and make sure you take care of business.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Panther schedule. I was trying to see if this is maybe a game that they circle. If it's like, oh man, we better beat the Raiders this week because then it's Chiefs, Bills. It's not terrible. You probably aren't singularly focused on it's at Raiders this week for the Panthers. Then they play the Bengals. That's, of course, a tough one. Then it's at Bears versus Falcons, at Commanders, at Broncos. They might just not see. Of course, they obviously want to win this week, but I don't know if they're going to view this as a kitchen sink. Hey, if we don't win this week, I really don't see a win for us for a couple months here. At least you can maybe say, okay, the Raiders are a good team. Let's try and give it our all. Maybe you more so circle the Bears, maybe, the Falcons, not if you don't pay attention to the last drive, Commanders. So I think maybe that's a helpful thing for the Raiders that, yes, obviously the Panthers with their quarterback swap want to have a good game this week, but it's not man, if we don't win this game, then I don't know where our win is coming from kind of game. So I think that those kind of random variables do play a little factor.
Oh, I agree. This is from the 916 guys. That last time Andy Dalton played the Raiders, who was the head coach of the Raiders? Raiders
Probably
defense
Gruden, right?
is much better now, and Andy Dalton will have more trouble.
Or was that Rich? Who was their quarterback?
Avoiding sacks. Panthers are not a good team. Josh McDaniel may have been a coach that would choke this game, but I think AP will have them ready to roll.
Let's see.
I think this is an AP situation, right?
Oh, that was Josh McDaniel's first year. It sure was.
This is an AP situation. And after that, this is what we talked about as it pertains to the Raiders. You have the Panthers. Then after that, you have the Browns, I don't know what to do with the Browns. So, but I know they're not awful. I know that there are worse teams out there. So you never know what could happen. You have 2 games at home if you're the Raiders. So, a couple different opportunities to get it done, but it all starts the Panthers.
We would think that this is probably a home game for the Raiders that is actually a home game, right? Too. Because Vegas can be a little bit of
I don't know
SoFi situation.
I know your boy Wardell is a Panthers fan. I'll never forget they had him in a jersey. This is why people think that he's not 6'3", because I walked past this dude when the Kings played the Warriors, and I'm thinking, okay, all my friends are lying, because if Steph is 6'3", that's a legit 6'3". But I'll never forget, and this is when he was a little bit younger too. Mm-hmm. They had him banging the drum when Cam was there, and I think it was a Super Bowl year. Yeah. He looked like Bryce Young. No, he looked like a child. Yeah, he's hitting the drum, and he's tiny, man. Yeah. Looks ridiculous. Okay, so they have 2 games at home. This is a good stretch for the Raiders, Chris, to be honest. It's not going to get much better. Listen to this. You're at home against the Panthers. You're at home against the Browns, who, look, that defense can stop Deshaun, I think. Then you go to Denver. Bo Nix hasn't looked great so far. Did you see his press conference? Someone asked him about the interception.
No.
And he said, I dropped back and I threw the ball to the other team. Yeah. So Bo Nix is already acting like a true professional. And then they host the Steelers. Maybe Russ is back by then. If you're a Raider fan, you might hope that Russ is back by then. Right. And then you go to LA. You're going to have a lot of fans down there for the Rams.
Oh my gosh.
And then so that's your stretch. And then you get Chiefs,
gauntlet.
Bengals, Dolphins, those 3 in a row. You get a break against the Broncos, and you get the Chiefs again. So I think that it definitely is a good opportunity for the Raiders. 916-339-1140. Let's go to our guy Murph. Wants to talk some Raiders, be a part of the conversation. What's up, Murph? What you got for us?
What's going on, guys? Hey, so with this Andy Dalton situation, yes, he's 3-0 versus the Raiders. Sure. Look at those Raider teams. He played Derek Carr in those 3 Raider games that he beat us. Derek Carr never had a top 25 defense ever in his 9 years as a Raider. Never had a top 25 out of 32. Andy Dalton's never faced a defense like this. Yeah. Not worried about this weekend. Raider fans shouldn't be worried about this weekend.
Not worried. The letdown, though, Murph. The letdown.
Letdown was the Niners losing this weekend. That's your letdown.
Wow.
And it's going to be again when Brock Purdy loses with no Debo, Brock Purdy's on. Kyler Murray was halfway out the door last week, and he put the hurting on the Rams. Brock Purdy cannot flop this weekend.
No, that's a good.
There's no excuse. There's no reason other than your ankle snapping in half and you getting off the field. There's no reason for you to lose this game to the Rams. And if he does, or doesn't even make it look good, doesn't cover the spread, there's real big decisions for the Niners to be made. I'll tell you that.
Thanks for the call, Murph. As always, great stuff. I don't know. Maybe I'm just so scorned, Chris. We've seen this story before, as you like to say. We've seen this movie before. Yeah. That's what I'm worried about. That's what I'm worried about with the Raiders. But Murph isn't worried. He says Raider Nation shouldn't be worried. Matt, we see you. We got to get to the other side. Nate is giving me the Dame Lillard and or the Tyrese Halliburton. But we will get to you, Matt, right when we return. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
Did you miss any part of our live local shows? Don't worry, you never have to miss them again. Check out SacktownSports.com and search our podcast page and play our shows when you want. The Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross, Stiles and Watkins, and The Drive Guys. Plus, other podcasts like Return of the Empire, Return of the Roar, The Stingers Up podcast, and Golf to Go with Frank LaRosa.
They're all available right now on SacktownSports.com.
Toyota's legendary truck event is on, and the deals are legendary. Get $2,000 cash back on any 2024 Tundra, or get a great lease on a new 2024 Tacoma 4x4. Get to your Toyota dealer now, because this truck event is gonna be Toyota. Let's go places. Offer available through TFS to buyers with premium rated credit. Ends 9/30/24.
If your passion is bass fishing, only one radio show has the action, information, and excitement of your favorite outdoor sport. Ultimate Bass, hosted by Tournament Bass Pro and California Outdoor Hall of Famer Kip Brown, takes you live to where the fish are biting every Saturday morning. Only Ultimate Bass feeds your passion with the latest news, products, tips, and advice from the pros. Ultimate Bass with Kip Brown, Saturday mornings at 5 a.m. on Sacktown Sports 1140, part of SEP's Saturday Morning Outdoors.
You might wonder, John Legend, how do you keep your voice sounding so legendary? Honey. And how do I keep my protection against COVID-19 up to date? With a COVID shot this season, designed for recent variants.
You can get your COVID-19 shot when getting your flu shot if you're due for both, as recommended by the CDC.
The fresher, the better.
Ask your healthcare provider about getting this season's COVID-19 shot when getting your flu shot.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Febreze. As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust new Febreze car vent clips, now with 3 times greater scent control, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with new Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing, which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs.
Picking up, Oscar.
Where do you go when you need someone to represent you? For me, you want someone that is local and that you can actually get to and talk with. There are plenty of big branded lawyers out there with the name, but you never get to talk to them. So go to saclegaldefense.com and connect with the law offices of Jonathan Gonzalez. He's local, he'll represent you, and he'll have your back. Whether it's expungements, wrongful termination, when you're in a spot when you need legal help, call the law offices of Jonathan Gonzalez at 916-304-9187.
Live and local. Live and local.
This is Sacktown Sports.
Coming up at 1 o'clock, giving away tickets and a family 4-pack and parking to see your UC Davis Aggies hosting Utah Tech, the Trailblazers. Aggie Up. That is coming up at 1 o'clock. For more information, visit sacktownsports.com. We also have the top stories at the top of the hour. Got a good group today. We're going to have some fun with it. Let's get to Matt, the number that you will call if you are on the app. Might want to switch over to AM, 916-339-1140. Let's get to Matt, who wants to be a part of the conversation. What's up, Matt? You're on Stiles and Watkins. What you got for us?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Not too much.
Yeah, just wanted to jump in, man. I love that you guys talk random teams and sports sometimes, so I got one for you. The Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, I feel like he's never really had a breakout season. You know, he had that, of course, that good rookie year, and he's dealt with some injuries. But the Jaguars, the past few seasons, you know, they've kind of been right in the middle, 9-8. Last year they had that collapse, and they lost that divisional round game against the Chargers. I think it was the Chargers a few years back, or it might have been the Chiefs. I don't know. But anyways, you know, they've had obviously some success, but I think for where they're at now, I think that they've thought that they would have been farther along. Where do you think they're at as a franchise? Do you think that they're going to stick with Doug Peterson as their coach? Do you think that Lawrence is the guy and he's a franchise quarterback? Where do you think they are, and where do you think they'll go?
Yeah, thanks for the call, Matt, and thanks for listening. Yeah, and I know Murph, who we just talked to, Chris, his whole argument is always Gardner Minshew is much cheaper than Trevor Lawrence, and they basically have the same production. Now, obviously, he got the mulligan. Trevor Lawrence did with Urban Meyer, and you know him being in the club and whatever the heck Urban Meyer was doing, who still has a job, by the way. And now you move to Doug Peterson, who's a Super Bowl champ, right? Nick Foles was in the building last night for the Eagles, and Doug Peterson is Super Bowl champ. And really, I think what Matt is alluding to is the idea that if Trevor Lawrence was that dude, again, I think when I had the list up, Chris, I don't know if he cracked 200 yards this weekend again. So the question is Trevor Lawrence a dude, right? And that's just something that we ultimately don't know yet. A lot of people, Chris, I don't know if you've seen this, the streets are calling that 2021 draft one of the worst quarterback drafts of all time. And if Trevor Lawrence, who was the number one that we were waiting to see for a very long time coming out of, and by the way, that was the Clemson Bowl this weekend with Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson, and Trevor Lawrence really was supposed to do a lot. I mean, he was even running at Clemson, he was doing so much, Chris. And, okay, so he threw for 220 yards. So he did crack 200. He throws for 220, no touchdowns. They score a measly 13 points. They continue the Clemson with Travis Etienne, who I'm really high on, only 52 yards. To me, he's kind of like a diet Alvin Kamara, which I don't know what to do with that. He did have a touchdown. But I think Matt's right. I don't know what the Jaguars are. That AFC South is a interesting division. You got to deal with the Texans, so that's a problem. And, the Colts, if the Colts figure it out, they got that defense. That's another problem. And I don't, they paid Trevor Lawrence already. So, yeah, then you go to you move on from Doug Peterson. But I think we had this conversation before, Chris. How many quarterbacks make it through what? Was it 2 coaches or 3 coaches? At some point, it becomes, hey, well, all these other elite QBs haven't had to go through this many coaches, so maybe you're just not an elite QB.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Trevor Lawrence's numbers here. You look at his completion percentage. It's 3rd worst in the NFL at 51%. You look at his expected completion percentage, also is in the bottom half of the NFL. He is 5th worst in the NFL in expected completion percentage. So that just tells you that he's not throwing the ball well at all. You look at, they have in the next gen stats something like his aggressiveness rating, which is also 2nd lowest in the NFL, only behind Malik Willis. So he's not really taking chances. He's not completing balls, and his team looks very meh. And I think that is leading to the conclusion that I just think that he's not the guy that maybe I definitely thought he was going to be. And I think it's becoming really clear that at the moment, especially, he's living off of the hype. And I think, I'm not saying he isn't a starter level quarterback, but I think that the illusion that he is even close to a top 10 quarterback is just completely eradicated at this point. I just don't think you can go off of anything but faith in Trevor Lawrence at this point, because all the numbers show he's just not an elite guy. Like even not Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert at least has numbers to justify him being in these kind of conversations. Trevor Lawrence at this point is just off of vibes and the fact that you might have liked him at Clemson. And I think everybody really did. And everybody was very high on him. He really was just as hyped as, a Peyton Manning as a prospect. He was just as hyped as Andrew Luck as a prospect coming into the NFL. And at this point, you would see something by now if you would think he's a dude. At the very least, I think, or I guess you could say at the most, I think you can say he's a guy that is at least worth continuing to give chances to. But I don't think you can say Trevor Lawrence, if you're bringing him in or if he's on your team, I don't think you can say he's a top 10 quarterback and really have any legs to stand on.
The only thing I will say, we talked about this before. The Jags have made some kind of interesting decisions, right, with who they've chosen to pay for the wide receiver positions. I mean, I don't know that he has a legit number 1.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley last year.
Calvin Ridley.
I think Christian Kirk's not a number 1, but I think he's a good
supplemental receiver. But they paid him. They kind
of
of paid him close to a number 1. So Trevor Lawrence, he signed a 5-year extension, $275 million. So he's not hitting the big money yet, but he will eventually. And we just haven't seen it. You read off the stats, Chris, for teams that go 0-2. I mean, the Jags, to me, they're a bit stuck, and they paid this, based on the timing, they paid this kid based on what they believe he will be. And it might not get, we're all going to get Matt and the rest of the crew. And I don't know if Matt is a Jags fan or just wanted to talk some Jags, because he is right. We'll talk all football on this show. One of the only, I'd say, shows in Sacramento that does that the way we do it. But I would say this, Chris, we're all going to get a close look at him next week. Jags at Bills. That's part of that. That's part of that Monday night kind of breakdown. And if that doesn't go well, I think a lot of people are going to be out on Trevor Lawrence. And I think I'm already out on him as far as, again, are you going to be an elite guy? Will he bounce around for years? Maybe.
Yeah.
He might even go Nick Foles on you.
I'm looking at the Jags schedule right now, and I just see a roller coaster ahead. I think that this is going to be a storyline all year long. I don't think they win the rest of this month. It's, like you said, at Buffalo this week and then at Houston. But then I could see the next month us completely flipping the narrative. After going 0-4 the first month, I could see them beating the Colts, beating the Bears, beating the Patriots, and then they have a game against the Packers. We'll see how healthy the Packers are at that point. That could be a 4-0 month after starting 0-4, but then you're right back on the horse at Eagles versus Vikings, at Lions versus Texans. Again, they could go 0-4 that next month and then end the season with a win at Tennessee. Jets is going to be a tough one, at Raiders versus Tennessee, and then at Colts. I can see the Jaguars going 9-8 this season, and us again stuck at the end of the year saying, okay, I think Trevor beat all the teams that he was supposed to, but then lost to all the teams that it would have been a really good win for them. And we probably at the end of the year are sitting here saying, I still don't know what to do with Trevor Lawrence because, yeah, he's not bad, but we can't talk about him in a certain caliber of player because he doesn't step up. He doesn't seem to beat teams that he shouldn't. So I think that there's an opportunity for them to turn this thing around pretty quickly after the Texans and the Bills game, but I don't think that we're going to get an answer to this anytime soon looking at the schedule, unless the answer is they lose in those games that I think they're going to win. And then we know, okay, this guy just isn't it.
This is what becomes tough with evaluating, and we're going to hear from Mel Kiper at the top stories at the top of the hour as far as Bryce Young is concerned. But this is why it is really hard to evaluate in college, specifically in college football versus some of the other sports, because in basketball, if a dude can jump out the gym, if a dude can shoot, you know what it is. That's not to say you know that he'll be a stud in the NBA, but you know what it is. You look at Trevor Lawrence, and that team was the best. That team was the best in college football. That is pre-NIL. Okay, so they had a juggernaut, right? My first thought is he needs more weapons. Okay, we talk about Christian Kirk, and I like Etienne. But, funny enough, Chris, and I know he's got the calf strain, and now people are saying the Niners would be able to keep both. But, yeah, how much better is Christian Kirk if you go out and get yourself a Debo, right? If the Niners say, hey, we're going to, we can't afford to do it. Maybe Brock balls out while Debo's out, right? These next couple games, and it's a Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, Brandon Ayuk-led skill position group, and the Jags go get a Debo who – you can run more gadget stuff with. I just feel like I think we're saying the same thing in a different way, but I'm saying you've already invested in Trevor Lawrence, so you have to find a way to make it work, right? So you got to go out. It doesn't feel like he has enough weapons. Maybe you thought paying him this money, he would be able to overcome this stuff. Turns out he can't. Now you have to be flexible. He's not a bad quarterback. He's just probably not as good as you thought he was going to be. So because of that, you need to find a way to work the cap and move some money here and rob Peter to pay Paul and find a way to get him a skill position group that's going to make him look better. That's it.
I think Brian Thomas is a great start. He's looked incredible his first couple games as a rookie. He's
94 yards last game.
Amazing these first couple weeks. He also hasn't had Evan Ingram or didn't have Evan Ingram in that week 2 game. Let's not forget Evan Ingram led the NFL in tight end targets like by a mile last season. And so that's a really big target for him. But yeah, he needs more. And I think, like you said, I think the expectation was just that he was somebody who frankly could elevate talent around him. And it turns out he's just like everybody else, not necessarily in a bad way, but just, again, you kind of thought when he was brought in, this guy's special. This guy's different. He can elevate situations. Turns out he's just like everybody else and needs as much help as everybody else, which means, okay, he's a good quarterback, but I it's tough to justify the numbers that they're getting paid when realistically you still need to have money to pay other people in order to maximize him.
And I hate to do this, Chris, I really do, but you know how I am. I wear my emotions on my sleeve, right? And I get not everybody is like that, but there's certain quarterbacks out there, and I know you want to be even keel, but there's certain quarterbacks that you just got to feel like you believe in. I've seen Brock and obviously I watch more Niners than Jaguars football, but I've seen Brock, just lose it on the field and just show that emotion. I've seen some of these guys. I mean, I know we have fun, but Gardner Minshew. I mean, it's almost like Trevor Lawrence is a robot.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard him talk like 5 times and he's been in the public eye for a very, very long time. I've never seen him give a bleep. Yeah. I've never seen any of that. That's not to say he's not a bad QB. I'm just saying, you are supposed to be a leader of men. You were supposed to galvanize the troops, and I don't see that with him. I don't see that with, I don't know. Deshaun just doesn't feel like he it can do. There's just a lot of guys where something is missing.
Sure. And yeah, maybe with the Trevor Lawrence thing specifically, like I would attribute that to he's not a Nepo baby, but like in the same, like he was a prodigy, right? Like he probably didn't have to go through a lot of trials and tribulations and have to, get it out the mud and things like that. A lot of things were probably given to him. I think like the biggest struggle of his life, I remember the Elite 11 camp, Trent Dilfer gave Tua the MVP of camp instead of Trevor and told Trevor, this is so, you have like everything's been given to you, and this is you're going to have a great career, but this is something that, hopefully you can use to get better. And I do kind of think that a lot of people have probably seen that in Trevor, that he's had a lot of things just kind of given to him, anointed to him. He's 6'6". He looks like sunshine from Remember the Titans. I think a lot of people have always had faith in him.
Yeah.
And this is kind of the first time where it's like, you are in a group of your peers. Can you shine amongst your group of peers? And again, it seems like he's a Jag. He is just another guy.
Yeah, well, and he's on the Jags. And also just the bag that he possesses. Joe Burrow, everyone loves to talk about Joe Burrow being a very, classic QB. Trevor Lawrence ran a little bit in Clemson, doesn't seem to do that anymore. What is it that you do here?
Yeah, I don't know what his elite talent is.
Yeah, going Office Space. What is it that you do here? Coming up next, top stories at the top of the hour. We have what I am dubbing the LinkedIn Bowl. We'll tell you about it when we return. Stiles and Watkins, Sackdown Sports.
Domantas Sabonis plays here.
He finds Sabonis. Put the frosting on the cake. Put the cherry on the sundae. Sabonis with a two-hand flush makes it 114-106.
Sackdown Sports is your proud home of the Sacramento Kings.
I didn't ask to be thrown in the streets with nowhere to go. I didn't think I'd survive. But I did ask for help, and Covenant House was there for me.
1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year. For these kids who didn't ask to be put in this unthinkable situation, Covenant House is there.
Covenant House helped me break the cycle of homelessness in my family. They gave me the love that I needed.
Over 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed tonight. When youth who are experiencing homelessness have a hot meal, a safe place to sleep, medical care, and love, they can overcome heartbreaking challenges and have a brighter future.
They just really genuinely just wanted to help me succeed, and I'm succeeding. I'm a speaker, I'm an author. Covenant House really helped me and really helped mold me into the woman I am today.
If you or someone you love is asking for help, go to safeplacetosleep.org today.
When an overwhelmed injury victim calls Ashton or Price, we immediately remove their legal burden and introduce them to the very best medical care in the region. They focus on their health and we handle all the rest. When they reach the end of their medical journey and are reunited with happiness and hope, we unleash our decades of legal experience to obtain maximum compensation. We are real, local, experienced litigators and snappy dressers too. Consultation's free and there's never a fee until we win.
Remember, for the best advice, don't think twice. Call Ashton and Price.
It's Capital Casino, Sacramento's #1 poker room. And guess what? Primetime football is back. Capital Casino is giving away $500 per game in high hand bonuses for every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday night primetime game. As always, offering the best food, the best service, and the best action with the most variety of games in the region, conveniently located in downtown Sacramento. So check them out, Capital Casino, and always remember to gamble responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
Last year's RV trip, we met a couple with the same bumper sticker. What are the odds?
Your cousin isn't a good storyteller.
He was a podiatrist, or was it a pharmacist? Huh, you don't say. Oh, I can't remember.
But she owns an RV protected by Progressive, and you don't. So until you get your own RV, her stories are the most interesting stories you've ever heard.
Wow, interesting.
And when you do get your own RV, save money by bundling it with your home, auto, or other vehicles with Progressive.
Oh, anesthesiologist. He was an anesthesiologist.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Rita, Hornhead, let's bring the nail gun over here.
Jose stands tall atop his sustainable flooring company.
Totally. It's renewable and moisture resistant, but we have several green options too. Or we got some beautiful reclaimed oak.
But floored by his success, he needs to hire more installers.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Put our matching platform to work so you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
It's not hard to be a mom. It's hard to be a good mom. It's easy to be a bad mom. That's so easy. But to be a good mom is hard. To be a bad mom, that's as easy as being a great dad.
Nikki Glazer, Alive and Unwell Tour. Friday, September 20th. The venue at Thunder Valley. Tickets on sale now. For tickets, visit ThunderValleyResort.com. She's alive and unwell. Don't miss Nikki Glazer.
Thank you. Good night. DC here, and if you've been thinking about a new car, you gotta see my friends at Folsom Lake Kia. You can always count on low payments and zero down deals with approved credit. Folsom Lake Kia, over 25 years, right here in Folsom.
KHTKAM Sacramento, KYMX HD2 Sacramento.
Take it on the local level.
Live and local, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday.
From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios. Sacktown Sports.
Sacktown Sports.
Check us out on YouTube. Search Sacktown Sports and subscribe.
It is time. Nate picked it yesterday. Chris Watkins today. UC Davis football is back in action this Saturday. Sacktown Sports has once again proudly partnered up with UC Davis football to keep you laced up with the Aggies all season long. And right now, we're looking for caller number
6. I had to think about it.
Caller number 6 to score our Stiles and Watkins family 4-packs and parking to check out the Aggies hosting Utah Tech this Saturday. For more information, visit sacktownsports.com. Caller number 6, 916-339-1140.
Speaking of 6,
916-339-1140.
You guys brought this up during the rap beef. And while I'm taking these calls here, I just want to hear your thoughts on Drake bouncing back. Do you think it's almost time? Is he about to be back on front and center? I know with Kendrick doing the Super Bowl, it's weird, but Where do you guys see? I don't know if he has an album coming out. Do you guys think he'll be right back?
Yeah, it's funny because we talked about how, what was it, Rory and Mal said that Drake was asked to do the Super Bowl. Then I saw that wasn't true. Then I saw that it was true. So the whole thing is confusing, Chris. Ultimately, I think I thought Drake was going to – it's been weird. He's been dropping stuff, leaking on Twitter, but not putting it on Spotify. So the whole thing has been bizarre. I think that Drake probably just chills the rest of the year. And I think we hear from Drake. I think we hear from Drake's next official drop like next summer because football – he can't drop in – he's either going to try to drop soon because you get closer to the Super Bowl, he can't drop. And then I think after that, he's probably just going to wait and drop in the summer. That's
I think he'll be back in some capacity pretty soon. I mean, I think he's definitely tainted for the rest of his life for sure. I mean, there's no way even diehard Drake fans like myself would say that you can't hear his music and not immediately think of Kendrick anymore. So I think he's always going to have that hanging over him, but I'm pretty sure he'll be able to get over it. And, he might not ever be as big as what he was before, but he'll be doing fine. He'll be selling out shows. I mean, Kanye West still out here to an extent doing his thing. So I think Drake will be fine.
Yeah. Drake will be okay either way. But, we talked about this during the pre-show yesterday. I can listen to Drake prior to the beef. I can't listen to any of the weird drops from Twitter or whatever. And some of them haven't been bad, but I can't listen to any of that. But I can listen to old pre-beef Drake. I can listen to that. That hasn't been tainted, but the new stuff has definitely been tainted. All right, let's get to top stories at the top of the hour. Nate, let's get that music going. We have some good stories today. Guys, I came up with this name. Maybe there is a better name. This is from College Sports Only. Fun fact, the combined age of the QBs in Saturday's Utah-Oklahoma State game is 49. By comparison, the combined age of starting QBs in Sunday's Colts-Bears game is 44. You have the Utah quarterback, a seventh-year senior who's 25.
Cam Rising.
And you have Oklahoma State quarterback, seventh-year senior who is 24. So I came up, somebody's calling it the Unk Bowl. That's pretty good. I've called it the LinkedIn Bowl because they need to get a job.
Yes.
Are there any other funny names for this bowl? We're talking about a 7-year senior. Obviously, there's COVID involved, but 2 7-year seniors, Chris. That's my dream. I never wanted to leave.
That's insane. I mean, that is just absolutely insane. I don't even know how you how would there not be a part of you? And I get it, whatever, you're excelling, but a part of me would be like, this is illegitimate. Like, if you're out here, just imagine if you're an 8th grader and you're going against, and you're in a league of 6th graders and you're the best player in the league. Is someone not immediately going to be like, yeah, that kid he is great. He's much better than everybody else, but he's also in 8th grade. So,
but I think this is worse because are either of these guys even in the Heisman conversation off the top of my head? I mean, I know Cam
Rising has some hype behind him.
Yes, he has some hype behind him, but you're not even cooking.
No. I mean, it's the Bo Nix thing, I guess, to an extent. But yeah, I mean, I think, of course, there's nothing for them to feel bad about. But it's just, it's not my college football. I'm not a big fan.
Utah is 12.
Kind of things like this.
So to be fair, Utah is 12, and I said, Utah is 12, and Oklahoma State, actually, they're both ranked as 14. So. There you go. I mean, I guess that's cool, but that's to your point, just go. I mean, where do you even do if you're 25? You can't go to, the parties. Somebody's calling it the Senior Citizens Bowl. You can't even. I don't even want to get into it. Yeah, it's just you're an adult.
Let's just
leave
it there. You're too old.
You're too old.
You're too old.
Next, Batman to get a star on the Walk of Fame. The fictional character Batman is to become the first superhero to get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The company behind the Walk of Fame announced that Batman will be awarded the 2,790th star on September 26th, though it's unclear if Batman himself will attend to give a speech. DC President and Chief Creative Officer Jim Lee will definitely be in attendance. However, Chris, first superhero getting a star.
I mean, he's deserving for sure. I just wonder why it was him over. I feel like the obvious one's probably Superman, just because he gets all the hype. But Batman's the better hero for sure, undeniably. But like Spider-Man,
is he?
Well, in what capacity? I mean, what's?
I mean, he doesn't even have superpowers. I think he's just rich.
And he still is able to keep up.
Because he's
is that
rich.
not incredibly impressive?
You know what?
There's other rich people out there, and there's no other Batman.
This is what we talk about when we talked about what's his name, Jaden Smith and Willow Smith. When we say, wow, they're really talented. Well, if my parents were rich and I could just work on music all day long,
how many rich people do you see out here doing Batman? If everybody could do it, then they would do it.
What do you mean? What does that mean?
What do you mean? What do I mean?
Bored.
I mean, if your argument is he's rich, and so
he's
that's
a good
what
guy,
it is.
and he's rich.
He's not a good guy.
That's why it's
part
Superman.
of the complexity.
But he doesn't kill.
None of them kill.
You're gonna watch the
and
Joker.
Maybe you should.
You're gonna watch the Joker too.
Unfortunately,
as a musical.
No, I will not.
I am.
What do you mean, unfortunately, Nate?
It's too dark.
It looks a little.
My goodness.
It's just doing too much. Like I'm not into the super dark stuff. It's just trying too hard, I feel like.
Well, so why are you
Lady
going to watch
Gaga
it?
does, she's looking good in that trailer. But I will say, I'll watch it. My dad's
anybody in a Harley Quinn outfit at this point, right?
I wasn't. Yeah, well, whatever, man. That's an off air.
All right, let's get to this next one.
Those are funny.
Derek White.
Oh, yeah. They really nerfed her.
Derek White. He gets his head smacked at the Colorado State game, guys. A scuffle. Derek White, come on,
big
man.
Bald head.
Yeah. What
Sit in the box, brother.
Yeah. What do we
Sit in the box.
Draymond got into it, I think, at a Michigan State game a couple years ago.
Par for the course.
I mean, you're worth too much money. You are an NBA champ to be in a scuffle like this, Derek. It's just, I don't know why he was in it. But he was in it. A little bit ridiculous. All right, I really want to get to this Mel Kiper sound, so we're going to do it on the other side to give it its just due. And then we will discuss whether or not there is a team in the AFC in the same division as the Raiders that we may be sleeping on. We get to that and much, much more as we are in the last hour of Tuesday's edition, Tapatio Tuesday of Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
Got somewhere to be?
Take Sacramento Kings basketball with you. The Sacktown Sports app will let you stay connected to your passion. Never miss a moment of Sacramento Kings basketball with the Sacktown Sports app.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
Are you really that different than the rest of us?
We are. As a fiduciary, we always focus on what's best for our clients.
What services do you offer besides investing?
We have a team of specialists in financial planning, estate planning, and more.
Your clients rely on you for all that?
Yes, we ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Okay, but you still sell commission-based products, right?
No, because we believe that's a conflict of interest. We prioritize service over sales goals.
So, then how do your fees work?
We have a simple and transparent fee that's a percentage of our clients' portfolios. So we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, we're more different than I thought.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at fisherinvestments.com. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Sacktown Sports. Call or text at 916-339-1140.
All right. Here is Mel Kiper. And you don't normally hear Mel Kiper going in the way he's going in. But, you know, Mel Kiper, he's big on the draft. And, you know, I feel like Mel Kiper probably has some type of feelings. And not that Mel Kiper and Todd McShay, they're always right. A lot of times they aren't. But they follow these guys in college. They get ready for the draft. And they want to see these guys do well. And I feel like, you know, I feel like they follow them and they say, oh, you know what? I was wrong on this guy, or I was right on this guy. And Mel Kiper, you know, clearly he has some feelings as he's going in on the Panthers as it pertains to the Bryce Young situation. And here he is as we round out our top stories at the top of the hour.
The quarterback coach, everything's there. The senior assistant, everything's in place. And then you see him beat C.J. Stroud on the field as a rookie, right? You take out the 3 games he threw multiple interceptions, he was 5 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns, 3 picks. Okay, had some decent games last year. Okay, but then you go into this year, you change everything because C.J. Stroud's doing so well in Houston. We got to destroy this thing. We got to blow it up and start over because C.J. Stroud's doing so great in Houston. These coaches aren't getting it done. So we bring in an offensive coach who was with Baker and others, right? Bring in a new pass game coordinator, new quarterback coach for Bryce Young. Then we don't play him in the preseason. We play him 1 series in the final preseason game against the AOGs. None of those guys are playing for Buffalo, by the way. They went 1 series down the field and they're rah, great. We got it. We accomplished everything we wanted to. I'll give you a little note. C.J. Stroud played in 2 preseason games this year. Okay, he played 4. Derek Carr played in 2 preseason games. Why? Because Clint Kubiak was coming in with a new offense, and Derek Carr is a veteran, played in 2 preseason games. Bryce Young played 1 series of a final preseason game against the nobodies on defense for the Buffalo Bills. Does that make sense to you? When in 2 games in, we're saying he can't play? Yes, his confidence was shattered, right? Yes, he does need to sit behind Andy Dalton for a little bit. But to blame this on Bryce Young is ridiculous. The blame here goes to the organization, the owner, for mishandling this young quarterback.
I've never heard Mel Kiper go in like that. I've never heard him go in like that. And this thing, Chris, is starting to look. He's a former number 1 pick. Obviously, the C.J. Stroud comps. This thing is really starting to get to get some legs here, as far as a lot of people feeling like Bryce Young maybe didn't get a fair shake, or really just flipping it back into what Mel Kiper is talking about, putting it on the organization. What did you think about what Mel Kiper had to say and your feelings on the Bryce Young situation?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a happy combination of both. I do think Mel definitely brings up some points, and, we've talked about it. Like, I wonder how much of it is just the, teams like the Panthers and, the Jets have struggled to find a quarterback for a really long time. I think you do have to have a really good infrastructure. I mean, you see something, how the Packers have been able to just go from Favre to Rodgers right into Jordan Love era. Like, there's clearly situations where they just understand a lot better how to naturally bring quarterbacks along. And I do think you see these situations again, like the Panthers and like the Jets, where they clearly just haven't been able to figure it out in any capacity, whether it is Sam Darnold or whether it is Zach Wilson or whatever. It doesn't matter. The results have all been the same. I definitely think the organizations need to take more responsibility, but also, I mean, Bryce has not been good, and there's been legitimate reasons why Bryce Young himself has not performed well. I think the height is a really big problem. I think the fact that he's not able to throw the ball downfield, and we talked about the Adam Thielen clip the other day. He's just missing open receivers. I do think that Bryce Young definitely needs to take some of the responsibility from this. But yeah, absolutely. The Panthers are just as complicit in all of this as everything else, because they could have made it easier on him. They could have done what they did here and just not started him immediately. There was no need, number one pick. Obviously, there's some expectations, but you're in the building. You set the timeline. If you don't feel like he's ready, then you probably shouldn't have given him the reins from day one.
Yeah, I'm looking here because one of the guys that they did bring in, Chris, was Xavier Leggett, and a lot of people, they love talking about his accent and things like that. I'm looking here, 2 games, he has 4 receptions, 7 targets, and 35 yards.
There you go. I mean,
that's just not going to work. So we'll see if Andy Dalton is able to cook up anything different. And you know what? How does this work now, Chris? What happens if Andy Dalton? Does it matter if Andy Dalton? Let's say they beat the Raiders, right? Let's say the offense looks completely different.
Yeah.
Then does Mel Kiper's stance have any less legs? Is it completely separate because Andy Dalton is a veteran, but it's still Andy Dalton? What happens? I guess that was my whole point in sitting him. If they stink again, right, then it's okay, well, the Panthers need to figure it out. If they cook, then what do you do?
I mean, you move on. Then it's clear that, maybe just rookie quarterback, or this specific rookie quarterback, or maybe your situation just wasn't one that's good enough for a rookie quarterback to thrive in. I think it's as simple as that. I still think that everything Kiper says holds up, because I do think it's just malpractice to not have Bryce Young play in those preseason games. I mean, there's no excuse for that. Even if you did have another option at quarterback, get Bryce Young as many reps as possible. It's like when we were talking about with the Niners, them not really giving Trey Lance those full preseason games. Yeah. Even then they would try and, they give him a quarter, they'd give him a couple drives. And it's like, this guy needs experience. And now I know Bryce Young doesn't necessarily fit into that Trey Lance inexperience category, but it's just all experience you can get at the NFL level is good. And it's about building comfort as well. So yeah, I mean, if the season goes well without Bryce out there, I think it's just the sign that they need to move on. And there isn't really much that they can do to try and solve that problem for him. Yeah.
It's almost as if they're not doing this. A lot of people will say, hey, he needs to sit or whatever the case is. It's such a weird situation, because they did play him for 16 games last season, even though, like you mentioned, there were some spots where other guys where Dalton did come in, because it almost seems like they're trying to confirm whether or not the team is actually bad or not.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they're not necessarily doing it because
they are
care.
Bad.
Right. They're not doing it because they care about Bryce per se. They're doing it to see, okay, are we going to look better with a competent QB, or do we need to just rethink this whole thing? And if it looks good with Andy Dalton, like you said, it's okay. Well, they almost want to do it to make sure they can say, well, it's not us. We put enough around Bryce. It's Bryce.
But there's just no way that's going to be true, though, because I mean, it's really crazy that nobody brings up enough, especially with Bryce playing how poorly he is. Think about all the talent and I'm not a huge DJ Moore guy, but they get rid of DJ Moore.
Yeah.
They trade off Christian McCaffrey. They trade their best defender in Brian Burns. How is this team supposed to be good when you also traded a first-round draft pick, an extra first-round draft pick, in order to move up to take Bryce, so they didn't have a first-round pick last year? So you trade literally your 3 best players in McCaffrey, DJ Moore, Brian Burns. You don't have another first-round pick to add to Bryce this season. I don't understand what they expected. I mean, you're bringing back Adam Thielen, who the Minnesota Vikings decided he's too far past his prime to really help us at all. He's their number 1 receiver. I just don't really know how the Panthers could have realistically expected anything else but what we're seeing to unfold. They don't have the talent. They've traded off all their best players, and we joke about it all the time. What they get from McCaffrey, a second-round pick. Like, they just didn't get the most out of their assets that they ended up shipping off, and their team is bad, and they don't really have a war chest to show for it. So they've completely botched this entire thing, and it's, again, they have to take at least half of the responsibility for this, but I definitely think that it doesn't help that Bryce doesn't seem to be, as we were talking about Trevor Lawrence, doesn't seem to be somebody who elevates the rest of the team. He's clearly somebody who also definitely needs some help.
Yeah, Deontay Johnson.
Oh, yeah, I forgot they traded for him this offseason.
Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen, Xavier Leggett, and David Moore, and Jonathan Mingo. Those are the wide receivers. You have Chuba Hubbard, and Miles Sanders, who was supposed to be better than Saquon back in the day. That's who we're dealing with from a running back standpoint. There is something, Chris, when I watched, and maybe it's just because of who he is, but you watch two teams in kind of rough situations, right? And I watched, and I did watch more of the Bears game than this Panthers game, but you watch Caleb Williams running for his life, and you did, at least myself, I still felt like, okay, I can see it. They got to get him some more protection. Yeah. They got weapons. They got a running game. I can see it. You watch Bryce Young, and I think that's the main thing. A bad team, you can still see some things. Yeah. That's just a bad team, and you just don't see it. I think that's the problem. So yeah, I will have my eyes on this one, of course, Raiders, Panthers, because if Andy Dalton, even if they lose and Andy Dalton looks good and is able to move the football, and there's just more belief in that locker room, Bryce might be cooked. And really, Chris, we might get to this tomorrow, but you had a very interesting article that you sent me, and I wanted to get into it because somebody from the Sack Chat brought it up as far as moving on from Bryce Young, and a team that might be interested in one Bryce Young as their quarterback goes on the IR. But there's what you call a 24-hour tease. We will get to that in depth tomorrow. Coming up next, we go over our picks, and it was a rough go for all parties involved. But let's see who won this one. Nate did take the most chances, so we'll see. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
Can Mike Brown build on last season's Coach of the Year award? Can the Kings exceed 48 wins?
We will be better prepared to make the run that we expect to run come next playoff.
Tune into every Kings game this season on Sacktown Sports and sacktownsports.com.
A new Honda? Nice. Well, it was like this. It was a super hot day, so we all stopped for some ice cream. When bam, the AC went out. My dad started sweating and was all, man, I stink. And my brother was like, I hate this car. And my mom was all, I'm dying in here. Then I said, it's time to call Stockton Honda. Then Dad was like, honey, you're right. I knew you were my favorite. And just like that, Stockton Honda to the rescue.
StocktonHonda.com. She used to meet me on the side.
Khalid, live in concert. See him performing at the venue at Thunder Valley, Saturday, October 5th. Get tickets now at ThunderValleyResort.com. Don't miss the sensational Khalid for one night only at the venue at Thunder Valley, Saturday, October 5th. For more, visit KhalidOfficial.com.
Mom, meet Sarah.
From First Time Nana Moments.
Yeah, welcome to Flight 101.
To Annual Girls Trip Moments. Your can't miss moments are worth protecting against RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV. And there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Doorbuster deals are coming during Pro Savings Days at Lowe's. Starting September 16th, save on a DeWalt 12-Volt Max Extreme Drill Driver Combo Kit or a DeWalt 12-Volt Max Extreme Impact Driver. Your choice for just $99. Plus, save $80 on a Bosch 18-Volt Brushless Cordless Impact Driver. Was $179, now just $99. Shop these deals and more before they're gone because Lowe's knows pros. Valid 9/16 through 9/18. Selection varies by location.
Finally, an easy way to find home improvement contractors. Just visit subcontractorsunited.com and simplify your search for home services professionals. From cabinets to windows, roofing to plumbing, Subcontractors United is an easy, simple way to find and hire a home improvement contractor. And you never have to give up personal information. So no harassing phone calls like you get from those other websites. Subcontractorsunited.com is sponsored by D&D Cabinets and Savage Design.
Sacramento, Dirk Bentley's coming to town.
Getting drunk on a plane.
For his only show in California this year, Saturday, September 28th at Hard Health Park for Country in the Park 2.
What was I thinking?
And he's bringing some friends. Carmelie.
I want to close your eyes for this.
Tyler Rich. Dasha. And more. Saturday, September 28th at Hard Health Park. Get your tickets today before they're sold out at CITPFest.com.
Brought to you by the California Army National Guard and Red's Pizzeria and Tap House.
For most of the people that walk in our store, it's been an ongoing, nonstop issue, and they're finally walking into the Good Feet store. Okay, the guy that came into my store last year that has had plantar fasciitis for 30 years. I looked at him, I said, "Are you kidding me? I've been here for 14. Where have you been?" I helped relieve a problem that's plagued him for 30 years. I mean, how do you not go home and talk about that?
Come to the Good Feet store now for a free fitting and test walk.
Imagine taking a nice warm bath in your shower. Let's fix that. Right now, get that clogged drain unclogged for just $67. Plumbing, sewer, electric, heating, and air. Bonnie.com. Some restrictions apply. License 696355.
Live and local.
This is Sacktown Sports.
All right. Kind of a rough go, but we are going to go over our picks. And we have them, I think, right here, Chris, for week 2. I see them. So we were both wrong, or all three of us were wrong with the Ravens. And then we had.
We're going to go game by game.
Well, first of all, we didn't make our picks last night. We weren't
supposed to say that on air, but okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, but it was part of it. This is why we didn't review yesterday. Mm-hmm. And it was because we were going to, and we just kind of forgot about it. And, it happens. We forgot. Mm-hmm. But we all would have picked the Eagles, I believe, right?
Yes.
Honor system. Mm-hmm. So we all would have lost. Didn't matter.
Yes. Okay, okay.
I just wanted to catch everyone up.
Yeah, I thought you
had them went through all the games.
Yeah, tallied up or not. So
I did. Yeah. I
did.
So here's what happened. Last week, you guys tied.
Yes.
And you guys beat me by a couple. This week, you guys tied again. However, I had one more right than you. You guys had 7 right.
How convenient.
I had 8 right.
Wow.
I had our first separation was the Packers-Colts game. Mm-hmm. You guys both went Colts. I went Packers. And then Chris, right after that, went Vikings, while me and Alan went Niners. Mm-hmm. I went Patriots just to spite the Seahawks. It's closer. Patriots probably should have won in overtime. You guys both got the Seahawks. We all went Jets. We all went Commanders. I went Cardinals. Rams didn't stand a chance that whole game. That was a flyer pick, basically. I was hoping for the Cardinals. Steelers, me and Alan had the Steelers. Chris went Broncos. We all went Chiefs. We all went Texans. So,
wow.
I actually would have picked the Falcons.
Wow.
Well, honestly, but you could say, should we do it that way? Well, I guess you could just access it and pay attention, because then I could say, okay, me and Chris are tied right now. Tied going into Monday, you know what I'm saying? Do I want to take a chance here and try to win the week?
I guess we'll never know.
That does make it more interesting.
I definitely would have.
So there you go. But yeah, well, good on you, Nate.
Thanks. Now we're all tied with one.
We're all tied with one. And you know what? And look, the first 2 weeks wanted to play it safe, but now that we're all square, I'm about to get real squirrely. Okay. I'm about to take a lot of chances.
I don't think you are.
But you know what that reminds me of, Chris, in the challenge when whenever someone gets some power and they say,
"Oh yeah,
I want to make a big move."
I'm going to make a power play.
And then they don't.
I'm going to make a power move. I'm going to get one of the big players out.
Yeah,
and then the big players talk to them, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm going to get the weakest person in the house out of here."
All right, let's put in Anissa. Let's just put in Anissa. As usual. There you go. If you watched MTV's The Challenge, you got that reference. The team that I wanted to get into, guys, as far as whether or not we're sleeping on them, and they're only 2-0, and one of their wins was against the lowly Panthers. I feel like a lot of people aren't. I guess it's only week 2, but Justin Herbert, Jim Harbaugh, and the Chargers. Justin Herbert only 130 yards. They're so we know how Harbaugh is, not really an offensive guru, if you will. 2 TDs, 1 interception for Justin Herbert. So not dominant performances the same way the Chiefs were. But if you look at, and they're in the same division as the Chiefs, but if you look at their next couple games, they're at Steelers. I think that's a big one to figure out, okay, which one that's a fraud watch game, really, because they're both 2-0.
Where is that? Do you know?
It's in Pittsburgh.
That's tough for sunny it's not San Diego anymore, but sunny LA.
Yeah, it's in Pittsburgh. After that, they get their first bout with the Chiefs, which that game is always a good one. It's always a good one when it's Chiefs-Chargers. Yeah. Then they head to Denver. Then after that, they head to Arizona. We'll see if Arizona just got lucky this past week. And then they host the Saints. They're at Browns. They host the Titans. They host the Bengals. They host the Ravens. They go to Atlanta. They go to Kansas City. They host the Bucks. They get the Broncos again. They get the Patriots. And then they close the season with the Raiders. So pretty even season for them. They get just like everybody else, they got their rough stretch, and then it evens out a little bit. But yeah, Chris, I don't know. Should we start talking more about the Chargers or not dominant performances? Let's see what they do against the Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're going to have dominant performances. It's not really super Harbaugh's way. I mean, especially with him just kind of laying the foundation of this team. It's, they're not really super talented on the offensive end. I think they're going to continue to run the ball. They got J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards both still healthy. We know that was a major problem for both of those guys, more specifically J.K. Out in Baltimore. I think as long as they're healthy, I mean, there's no reason to go away from the well. J.K. has been incredible these first 2 weeks. He had the big run that bust things open against the Raiders. Last week, I think he had 130 yards rushing. I would imagine they're just going to keep pounding the rock, and, we'll see if they ever put the ball in Justin Herbert's hands to decide a game. But I don't really know if they have to as long as they're healthy. Joe Alt looks incredible, their top 5 pick on left tackle. And, I mean, I think that this is just going to continue. I don't think it's going to be flashy at all. Usually Harbaugh teams aren't super flashy. I think this is just how they're going to play the whole year, and I think they're going to out-physical a lot of teams here. So I don't know if they'll ever be really a team that we're going to talk a lot about, but I do think that they're going to be here in terms of one of the more winning teams this season just because they're so well coached, and Harbaugh already has that team pretty much playing like a Harbaugh team.
Last but not least, we want to get into that Dante Whitner sound, as he feels the same way, Chris, that I feel, as far as just some of the similarities we're seeing with one Jordan Mason and Marshawn Money Lynch. Here's what he had to say.
The 49ers fell to the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday in Minneapolis, 23-17. But one of the bright spots, as he's been throughout the first 2 weeks of the season, was number 24, Jordan Mason. And when I look at his running style, he reminds me of one of my former teammates, Beast Mode, Marshawn Lynch.
Boy, how about all that?
Now that gets you ready for Marshawn at the very end. And then he does the Thizzle dance after that. Chris, I know I kind of just went off on it yesterday when I was talking about it. You seeing any Marshawn Lynch in how Mason runs, or are we doing too much?
I mean, yeah, I haven't really seen like a get off me kind of move where, he's straight stiff arming somebody or somebody hits him and just explodes 5 yards backwards. He runs really, really hard. I guess that's kind of where the Marshawn comparison comes from. Again, like he seems to run through tackles, and he's always kind of somebody who, like NFL or football coaches in general, especially running back coaches, will always get super excited at guys who are always falling forward. And even, if you get tripped up for a yard, it's, hey, he ends up getting 3 yards just because he's always constantly moving forward. I kind of think of He seems a little bit more mobile even at his peak. But like kind of like Zeke almost, where Zeke was a really physical runner. Again, somebody who's always leaning forward. He was a little bit of a bigger body, but just kind of the physicality. I think that's where like the Marshawn's and, maybe where I'm seeing a little bit of Zeke is just kind of he feels like a bigger running back. He just feels like he's got some weight to him.
Yeah, that's a good call on that one. And speaking of Zeke, I can't believe that in the midst
How is he their starter?
I don't know. I mean, it's almost, RIP to, Big from Robin Big, but it looks like Robin Big with Ezekiel Elliott, then Deuce Vaughn comes in after that. I mean, that's what it looks. I just don't understand what their plan is. Brandon Cooks and Tolbert. You pay Dak this money, and maybe that's because they pay Dak and they pay CD, but they're a one-trick pony.
Yeah,
they are a one-trick pony, and they're not. Yeah, you're right. I mean, the Eagles are probably going to get it done because who else is going to get it done in that division? And this is an interesting one, Chris. Cardinals QB Kyler Murray's jersey and ball from Sunday's win were sent to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Kyler became the second player in NFL history with over 250 passing yards, over 50 rushing yards, and a perfect 158.3 passer rating.
What? Who cares?
I don't know. It's not even the first.
Why
That's
is
what's
that?
So funny?
Yeah, why is that going to? I mean, okay, I guess maybe I need to familiarize myself with what the Hall of Fame looks like, but does that really need to be in the Hall of Fame? Like, if I'm going to the Hall of Fame, it is not on my itinerary. Let's make sure to go see that Kyler jersey from that 1 week 2 game where we beat the hell out of the Rams. Definitely need to make sure when we're in what is it, Cooperstown? No, what are they? Canton. Thank you. When they're in Canton, make sure that you stop by the Kyler jersey. No, I mean, what is that?
I don't know. And it seems like a very Kyler.
Kyler's already
it's all kind of on brand for what Kyler has brought to the game. Just some electric moments, and we have no clue
week 2 victory
what to do with any of this. This, right? And I don't know.
250 yards, it's fine. It's just not really super impressive. It's not something to write home about.
Well, it's the combo,
I guess,
and perfect passer rating. That's what it is. The Cardinals take care of business against the Rams, and obviously a very downtrodden Rams. Are we buying the Cardinals thing? Who was it? Was it you or somebody before the show said that Cardinals could get squirrely? Who was that? Was that either of you? Did I make that up?
Frankie?
We might have. I
don't remember anyone saying that.
Yeah,
they get the Lions next, and I think we'll learn a lot about the Lions and the Cardinals in this next game.
I think they could be good. I mean, we'll see. I think they could surprise people. I don't think that they're anything that I would take super seriously. But, yeah, I mean, there's a chance that maybe they, especially with the Rams being as down as they look, maybe they do finish second in the division. I still would probably rather take the Seahawks. I have more faith in the Seahawks. But, I mean, Kyler is just such a strange quarterback in the whole grand scheme of things. Like, he plays well, but his teams have never really done anything. But he's also – a part of the contributing to that, but he's got I don't know. He just doesn't really fit the mold. So I just can't really see that him specifically staying healthy for the entire year, but also that team. I mean, they looked great giving Marvin Harrison the ball. James Conner's been great, but I don't really know exactly what that offense is going to look like on a week-to-week basis.
I think this has nothing to do with what the Cardinals will be. The Niners will split with them. The Niners will lose a game to the Cardinals just because. It won't affect the Niners ultimately, but or the Cardinals for that matter, but they just have problems with Kyler running around. All right, coming up next, we have some crosstalk with one Whitey Gleason as we close out the show. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
Subscribe to Sacktown Sports on YouTube and watch the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross, Stiles and Watkins, and the Drive Guys. Live Monday through Friday from 6 to 6. Plus view archive shows and exclusive content.
Subscribe at youtube.com/Sacktown Sports.
Model year-end pricing is back at Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop.
During the model year-end event, lower interest rates at Folsom Lake Honda make lower payments. It's no wonder why Folsom Lake Honda is your one-stop Honda shop. Come in today or check out our entire inventory online at folsomlakehonda.com.
Get an instant cash offer for your trade at folsomlakehonda.com. We'll buy your car whether you buy from us or not. Folsom Lake Honda is your one-stop Honda shop.
Folsom Lake Honda.
Go to folsomlakehonda.com.
Your one-stop Honda shop.
Hey, what's up, Sacramento? It's Kyle Draper. Turn up the cleanliness at your restaurant, healthcare, or industrial business with Alsco Uniforms, the official sponsor of the Sacramento Kings Mop Crew. We've got you covered with crisp uniforms, hygienically clean linens, floor mats, and, of course, mops delivered weekly. But that's not all. Alsco Uniforms also offers weekly services for first aid and restroom supplies. Discover why it pays to keep clean with Alsco Uniforms. Just go to alsco.com to learn more. Again, that's alsco.com.
Bonneville International Radio Station contests are open to participants at least 18 years of age and older that are residents of California and who reside in one of the 6 counties that make up the Sacramento metro area, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest are not eligible to win, unless the station otherwise specifies in its own discretion. Persons who have won in the last 30 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. For a copy of the general contest rules, visit khtk.com.
High voltage live boxing action returns to Northern California Saturday, September 21st at the venue at Thunder Valley with Thunder Showdown featuring the undefeated 12th ranked welterweight in the world, Amari Jones, plus Alan Sanchez versus Sal Briseno, and 8 more exciting undercard fights with Maribel Guerrero, Blake McKernan, Gabriel Garcia, Anthony Hernandez, Ruben Torres, Alexander Espinoza, and more. Don't miss the Thunder Showdown, September 21st at Thunder Valley. Get tickets now at Ticketmaster.com. Fight card subject to change.
Sponsored by Xfinity Internet. Enjoy ultimate control of your home network. Personalize your Wi-Fi name and password. Assign user profiles. View and control connected devices and more with the Xfinity Internet app.
Sacktown Sports.
Check us out on YouTube. Search Sacktown Sports and subscribe.
Ace on the track.
Joined by Whitey Gleason.
Hello.
Whitey, how you doing?
Good. How about those Falcons last night, huh? Kirk Cousins now owns Monday night.
That's right.
He is Kirk Monday Night Cousins.
Let's do the thing. Let's do the thing here. Did the Falcons win that game or did the Eagles lose it?
Both. Falcons won it at the end, but only after the Eagles gave them the chance.
Do you have a problem, or do you understand?
Sometimes I do.
Do you have a problem with Nick Sirianni? And if you don't, or if you do you understand why people seem to really every time they lose, just all over that stupid meme with him bobbing his head goes around everywhere, and everyone says that's the one coach I just love watching lose. How do you feel about Nick Sirianni?
I don't have a problem with him personally. I just remember when he got hired, and who was it? There was somebody, he was a coach, I think, or somebody in the league, anonymously quoted in the Philadelphia paper, and he said, he's smart. Nick Sirianni's smart. Not super smart, but kind of smart.
Right.
I just always hearken back to that. But last night, it was really interesting to see Peyton Manning go nuts when Saquon dropped that pass.
Yeah.
He just couldn't believe it.
Yeah. And
because they called the pass.
Right. They called the pass, and Saquon has had a drop problem in the past, and it reared its ugly head. I think the Nick Sirianni thing is interesting because he's almost a Patrick Beverly type of coach, which you don't normally see, or a Draymond Green, where it's just, if he's on your team, I guess, and I'll talk to my buddies about this, I guess if he's on your team, you really like him, right? Everybody, when you're watching the broadcast, he embodies the city of Philadelphia, but if he's not on your team, he just annoys the crap out of you, and that's what I think this is.
I hate to see anyone lose their job having lost a job, a time or two, so I know what it's like. Obviously, it's easier for those guys because they make so much money. But my point is, I think if I were running the Eagles, I definitely would have dismissed him after last year.
Really?
Whether it's his fault or not, it's like, that's something went wrong there that we got to fix.
Yeah.
And if my quarterback and my coach ain't getting along, and I got to pick a side there, I think I know which way I'm going.
Yeah, you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
And again, it's not as if it's an Andy Reid or even a Kyle Shanahan to where it's, well, you're not just you losing him, you're losing the offensive guru, you're losing the defensive guru. He doesn't do either of that. So that's a no-brainer to me. And I'm not even that high on Jalen Hurts, who did look good for majority of that game until the very end. And at that point, the situation was just kind of cooked. We've talked about Jalen Hurts in the past before. I think one thing was clear, Whitey, and not that I'm that high on the Eagles, but Jalen Hurts was clearly not healthy last season. I mean, he looked completely different last night as far as running the football and just the confidence that he was playing with.
Yeah, maybe it's as simple as that. Maybe that's why ultimately they kept the coach around. But don't you think now it's looking like, and this happens every year in the NFL, with few exceptions, the teams that we assume they're the good teams, they're probably not as good as we think, and the bad teams, they're bad. They're probably not as bad as we think.
Right.
Everybody's more closer together than in any other sport. That's why something happens like, the Saints do what they did to the Cowboys or Vikings win, and we go, how does that happen? Well, that's kind of the nature of the NFL right now.
And when you discuss teams and windows, as we talk a lot in the NBA, I don't know, guys. It kind of feels like the NFL's window opens really fast and then closes really fast.
For a team, you mean?
For a team, unless you have a Patrick Mahomes type guy. And what I'm saying is, I know it's easy to say, but you have two teams now, and we have no clue if they're going to get back to where they once were, okay? The first team is the Philadelphia Eagles, all right? Of course, Jalen Hurts didn't mean to fumble, but he has a game of his life in the Super Bowl. You had an opportunity, and I'm not as high on Jalen Hurts as other people are. No clue if they're going to get back. The other team I'm going to talk about or going to bring up is the Lions. Lions were supposed to be the sexy pick, or they're supposed to be the team that has the best chance to take down the Niners this coming season. And the Lions, they go out, and I bring them up because they played the Buccaneers, which is a team that we didn't think was on the same level. They go out, they barely beat the Rams, and the Rams are literally just in urgent care right now. And then they come back.
Not true. They're not literally in urgent
care. One of them might be. And now they come back and they lose to Baker Mayfield, who we don't know what to do with him. We'll know more in week 3 and week 4. But the Lions, there's got to be a part of them still thinking, why did we go for it on 4th down against the Niners? I mean, who knows if they would have beat the Chiefs or not, but they had these opportunities. I think the assumption, and people do the same thing with Dan Marino when he lost, they'll be back. You never know, right? You never, ever know. So not to say, obviously, they didn't try to lose, but you really got to capitalize on these situations, man. Because now both of those teams are looking at 1-1. At least the Niners are looking at 1-1. And who knows what's going to happen if the Saints, the saving grace for these teams is that the Saints and the Bucs are in the same division.
Here's the thing I'm trying to figure out, and we talked about it yesterday a little bit. A lot of 49er fans are having this debate now, especially on X. It's just one game. Don't worry about it. Or, that's a bad one. Early in it's a bad loss. And everything's been going wrong for him. Well, how about last night? I see both sides. And like Jay talked me down yesterday. It's like, it's one game. Debo always gets hurt. Every year he gets hurt. It's just one game. But then you see last night for both those teams, the Falcons and the Eagles, both of them could say that wasn't just one game. Kirk Cousins said that's the type of game that can
change the season.
Change your whole season.
Right.
And for the Eagles, we know that was an absolute
gut punch.
Yes.
Yep.
So I don't know what the answer is. I think sometimes an early season game like last night, it can be very significant.
Yeah, I think it would have been worse. Well, especially with how the Bucs and the Saints started off the season. The Falcons did need that game more, right? And at least the Eagles could say, we didn't have A.J. Brown and we didn't have, it was at home, but you have the Cowboys who they just got smacked by the Saints. So I think the Falcons needed that game more. It would have been really nice for the Eagles to be able to pocket that one, and then you'd be up on really everybody besides the two teams with the Saints and the Bucs who are going to beat each other up anyway. So I do think it was a huge missed opportunity for the Eagles, but the Falcons needed that game.
Right.
That's what
we don't know. Down the road, it may turn out that the Eagles really needed that one more than they knew at the time. But if you're a Falcons fan, aren't you feeling like that's enough of Jason Kelsey? Right?
That's what Alan was saying earlier today.
Yep.
I don't really care, but man, if I was a Falcons fan,
Kyle Kyle Brandt from NFL Network, he basically had some sound, and he said last night the E in ESPN stood for Eagles. That's what it was, and that's what it felt like. I mean, it was a lot. It was a lot, and then they kept saying, "Can you hang around for one more? Can you hang around for one more?" And he's like, "Sure,
Yeah, I'm already here."
Yeah, I'm already here. So yeah, it was a lot, Whitey. And then you turn on the other, then it's Manning cast. I mean, can I just watch? What happened to the days where I could just watch a football game?
Mm-hmm. You could still watch. You mean without Jason Kelsey?
Yes.
Here's an idea. Did you tell him? Turn off the sound and listen to the game on Sacktown Sports.
And that's exactly what I did.
There you go.
Second half.
There you go.
Because I couldn't do it anymore.
Sounds of Kevin Harlan.
I
right?
couldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it
Kevin Harlan on the call.
any more. Whitey, real quick, the Debo thing. A lot of people are saying Brock Purdy, this is how he's going to make his money. Me and Chris had a good conversation just as far as this $60 million, and who knows who created this $60 million amount, but the idea was, and that's what Dak got, right? So that's what Dak is getting. The idea that Brock can either, with these guys being out in CMC and Debo, Brock can either get to 60 mil during these next couple games or lose the 60 mil over these next couple games. Do you feel like it's that finicky, or do you think, I think Chris had kind of alluded to, they probably already have an idea of what they're going to pay this guy, unless it just went super south.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I was kind of on the side of they've already pretty much determined that they're probably already going to give him $60 million. And I think that they probably aren't going to put much stock into these early games. And I feel like they've kind of already hitched their wagons to Brock moving forward. I don't see necessarily them moving off of the whatever dollar figure was in their minds just because, he ended up, the experiment that everyone wanted ended up happening and it didn't go their way. I feel like by the end of the season, we're just not going to be thinking about it. And they probably already have to pay Brock a certain dollar figure.
Yeah, I agree with that. Essentially, if I understand Chris right, I think they pretty much have in their mind what he is already. They're not, let's see how he handles this. Yeah. They know what they expect from him. They know what he's capable of. And I don't think there's any sort of trial here. Well, we'll decide what we're going to pay him depending on how he handles this. I think the notion that, it's all up to Brock now, that's obviously everyone has to do a little bit more. But I don't see this offense being built in such a way that, all right, Brock, you're going to have to carry the load now. I just don't think that's what's put together.
No, I think if anything, 5, I think we're looking at somewhere around the range might change, right? When you apply to a job and it says the range can be between this and that, it could be, hey, Brock, Brock is at 55 right now. If he cooks, gets MVP, something like that, then he might push himself to the 60 range. But it's nothing as far as, going into the season, I don't think it's $10 million. I don't think we thought it was only going to be 50 a year, and now he's made his way all the way to 60. I think the range is probably the difference of about $5 million a year. Whitey, did you know that Falcons had a 0.7% chance to win with 1 minute and 56 seconds left?
That means the Eagles had a 97.3% chance to win? No, 99.3. Yeah, it's funny you said that because I noticed that before I came in. Those things are wrong. I love those. I always check them in baseball, especially. Yeah. This team had a 99% chance to win and they lost. Well, then your numbers are probably wrong.
Right. That's also true.
It happened. And it didn't. I mean, it was crazy, but it didn't feel like a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Right. It's football, Alan.
That's right. No, I hear you. Does it feel like the injuries are worse this season than
my injuries?
Past?
Yes.
I don't know what you're doing.
Every year.
Are you on the you're on the IR?
Every year. Which injuries?
All of them.
I don't know. I really haven't been keeping track. It does seem like a rash of early season injuries. I mean, you look at, as you guys, I know you have, the Rams and the 49ers this week. My goodness.
Yeah.
I heard on the radio the Rams are literally in intensive care right now.
Urgent care.
Urgent care.
It was
urgent care.
I
also heard someone on your show saying, bless everybody who listens and thank you, but someone said, I believe they said on your show, a caller, if Brock Purdy doesn't cover the spread, the 49ers are going to have a tough decision to make a quarterback. Is that true?
Well,
was that said?
Some version of that. I don't, that was a long time ago. I'm not sure about that. Well, I
2
think
hours ago.
It was more about if they lost, but yeah, that was a Raider fan.
I know.
That was a Raider fan.
It was a good call.
By the way, great stuff from Whitey Gleason as always. And because of that great stuff, you get even more of it coming up. Whitey Gleason, Kyle Draper, and Jay Johnson. Thank you for listening to Stiles and Watkins. Congrats to our winner. Going to check out UC Davis football. Aggie up. Your chance to win tomorrow against the Utah Tech Trailblazers. Thank you to Nate. Thank you to all the callers, texters, and Sack chatters. This has been Stiles and Watkins. You got the Drive Guys up next. Until tomorrow, secure the bag. Like the beat.
The NFL's leading rusher plays here.
The handoff to McCaffrey.